Scorpios.
What is going on, everybody? It is episode 585 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my special guest co-host today. Would you introduce yourself?
Well, hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, but today I'm co-hosting with Brett. It's my return to Pop Culture Crisis. It's been a couple months now.
Yes, it's been a while.
I'm glad that Brett's having me back. I really appreciate it. And we're here with Sarah.
Hey, it's Coffee Lady.
Oh, sorry. Did I just dox you?
Yeah, I do, totally. There's not many Sarahs out there. They're going to find me now.
No, I don't remember what your code names are.
I'm still not used to the SC, and I'm still not used to the Scanner News stuff.
I'm on a level with everyone
never,
right now.
like, feel
Scanner
right.
doesn't always make sense to me because I feel like Scanner should have two N's in it if we drop the vowels, but instead it's one N.
Makes too much
But I wasn't
sense.
part of the branding.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
anyways, this is Lady Who Sells Coffee.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm excited for today's show. I don't think I've ever done a show with Hannah Claire.
Yeah.
I obviously messed this up from the start. I don't even know what we're going by.
And it's glad to have you guys. There's currently an eclipse going on outside right now.
There
is.
is.
Or is it going on? I've literally been up here, I've been banished up here to the attic for years now. I don't actually get to see daylight a whole lot Monday through Friday. Most of the time, I spend most of my time up here, but I imagine that it's going on outside right now. And even
What if there's not? What if there's like no eclipse or it's stuck?
Yeah.
And,
the thumbnail
we're all
makes no
missing
sense.
something big.
Just gaslighting you.
And the thumbnail that I had made today makes no sense because it's you in front of an eclipse with sunglasses on.
How could you do this to me? You're making a nonsense thumbnail. The day I return to Pop Culture Crisis, I will walk. I will leave the show.
And the best part is, I was talking to people on Twitter today. I saw people posting pictures of the eclipse. You know,
The alleged eclipse.
The alleged eclipse that's supposedly happening. They got their grainy cell phone photos. And I love it. I said, this is about as wholesome as the internet gets in 2024 because people are just genuinely interested in it and are like, wow, this is cool. It's kind of the feeling I have, and I was explaining to you this beforehand. When people dunk on people who post their crappy cell phone videos of fireworks, leave them alone. You know, like
Right.
we have enough crappiness in the world. Like if somebody wants to post a grainy video of fireworks, I say let them. I don't see the problem with that.
Let them live. It's for the nostalgia.
Exactly.
I
for them.
think I told you this, but like life is so hard. If people are excited about something, sometimes just let them be. You know, like if everyone wants to stand outside and look at the sun, okay, let them have a moment of
shared
unity.
experience,
This is an
yes.
election year. We need this.
We need this right
That's
now.
so yeah, that's what it is, and it's going to be a lot of fun today, guys. We got a bunch of stuff to get into. This, if you noticed, top left of my screen, bottom, you'll notice there's something missing. The crisis meter is still, in fact, down. The app, the service that we use that runs that, according to Chris, is not up right now. It's down.
Oh,
so
dear.
you can blame them.
It's the eclipse.
It must be the eclipse that's doing
The
this.
alleged eclipse.
Did you see Trump's eclipse meme?
No, I haven't.
Oh, let's let me see if I can pull it up here.
Guys, the eclipse is real. I took some grainy photos of it on my phone. I can show you.
I don't know about this. I hadn't seen an eclipse today, so I'm just saying, how could there be an eclipse if I haven't seen it? It seems like just hearsay.
Let's see if I can find. Yeah, here we go.
Do you guys remember the one in 2017?
Yes.
I don't.
That was a
No.
lunar.
Allison
That was the one
telling
I
us
was
there
like,
was
oh
one.
yeah, I'll stand outside and look at the thing.
Stare at the sun.
My eye doctor was giving out this year. My eye
Yeah.
doctor was giving out special glasses so you
Oh,
could look at the
nice.
sun. You know, which we're not in the direct zone as far as I know.
So here's the.
Oh, I am awesome.
Music scene is copyrighted.
Oh my god!
Trump posted that?
Yes,
Himself?
It's on his. What I love about it is the fact that he had to have somebody like mock up like a PDF of his outline to do that.
You know they had that ready for a long time.
He had
you
to get
know
a
they've been
video
like,
editor
when can we use this?
to do that? It's awesome. That was worth getting demonetized for the Space Odyssey theme.
Not over the top at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys. As you know, by the way, Mary will be back on Thursday. She is out of town doing a super secret project, as we called it. Her and Taylor Silverman are apparently both in
cool.
California on separate projects, but she is out of town. And Hannah Claire will be with me Monday and Tuesday this week. She's saving my life.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm basically a lifeguard for a pop culture crisis.
That's what it is. We'll get you like what they call the thing that they. I don't even know.
You don't even know.
What is it called?
You don't even respect the fact that I'm saving your life.
I respect it, guys.
I'm questioning this decision.
Hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel. If you have not done so already, please remember that all Super Chats $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion and we will read those Super Chats right then and there, and then we will do our best to get back on topic. Perhaps you have questions, comments, concerns for Hannah Claire, Sarah. You never know. Also, remember to share this video with your friends. The more people that come in here and hang out, the farther our reach is, and it helps the show grow. So thank you so much.
Are you
for that.
saying they could turn this into an AMA if they just super chat enough times?
Yes,
basically,
Let's do it.
That'd be so funny.
Basically, yeah, be an AMA.
I like that about pop culture because it's very easy to hijack the show. I hate to say it like that, but like, you know, if you guys decide you really need to know something and you super chat at the high enough level, like we are obligated to interrupt whoever is speaking.
Well, I am here to make the audience happy, and
you made this rule.
I did. I like the interaction, right? It's so there's news, but you know, it's a lot less dire than the stuff that goes on. You know, and when you're talking border security or student loan debt forgiveness or whatever else the hell they talk about, or whatever's going on over there on IRL, it's a lot less. Serious over here. So just remember that, guys, and share the video with your friends. Like I said, we want to help the show grow. We passed 108,000 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for that. So what are we going to get into today? Well, there's a bunch of legalities, apparently. Jonathan Majors has been sentenced, and big shocker, no jail time for him, as if anybody actually believed that he was going to spend a day in jail. So we're going to get into that. The Rock is mid-cancellation from weirdos on Twitter and leftist activists because he dared say he's just not going to get in politics in the year 2024. That broke at the end of the day on Friday, and a lot of people have a lot of theories as to why that was, because it was leading into WrestleMania, but he's got other business announcements that people believe that could be related to. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Bob Iger. He's gaslighting you, ladies and gentlemen. He's saying, like, look, I don't even think these people know what the word woke means. And what do you mean Disney is woke? And as much as I hate that word, we're going to look at the dictionary definitions, because there are dictionary definitions for that word. And then we'll see if that applies to Disney as a whole. So we got that. Also, Kirsten Dunst, she is telling you and me that apparently Spider-Man is an agent of the patriarchy because she was paid less in Spider-Man than the guy who played Spider-Man. Shocking. Gender wage gap, it never goes away.
The patriarchy is oppressive, you know,
It does.
especially for women who are, you know, playing a second-tier role.
Exactly. They can never get away from it. So if you guys are ready, we will just go ahead and get right into it. Hannah Claire, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Sarah, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I love the enthusiasm. That's what we're going for here today. All right, first things first, ladies and gentlemen. I got some good news for comic book fans if you were looking for a more traditional story from James Gunn's Superman Legacy. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It's not actually called Superman Legacy anymore. It's just called Superman now. They changed the
He doesn't get a legacy.
They got rid of legacy. So there was.
Does that mean that they don't like him that much? They're
No,
like, this guy
no.
gets he's not that good. We don't want people to remember.
So there was some rumors going around that the villain for the movie was going to be either Bizarro or Ultraman, which is basically an evil version of Superman, which could make for an interesting story. But given that this is supposed to be a quasi origin story, meaning he's already Superman, but it's your first introduction to the David Corenswet version of this character, they are going to go with the traditional route and go with Lex Luthor as the bad guy. So this is what he said. He said the primary protagonist of Superman is, shockingly, Superman. The main villain of Superman is, shockingly, Lex Luthor. I don't know where all of the stuff is coming from that it's something other than this. There are so many stories coming out every day. It's very difficult to deal with every time I strike something down. I'm giving it attention. So he's basically saying, like, look, every time I actually address these things, I give it attention, which legitimizes it. But he kind of, it's his own fault because he loves to go back and forth and talk about these projects when they're in production. So he actually makes it worse for himself by constantly addressing the rumors.
Right.
He doesn't know, like, I don't know what's the best option there. But
Do you think that the volume of rumors indicates the fans are kind of bored with the storyline?
No, I think that in the early phases of these types of productions, before like a lot of times, like when a movie gets like through production and then they start releasing like set photos, or they it's always like Entertainment Tonight gets like some exclusive with a bunch of pictures from the movie and interviews with the actors. That puts a lot of that to rest as the shape of the movie or the storyline takes more like a firm focus. And in this case, it's just a lot of it's the speed of the internet. Like just rumors come out and people then address them as if all of them are fact. And one of the things you have to do is like be very, very clear, because I read stuff like this all day, every day. And you have to say, this is from this source. Who knows if this is actually true or not? And then you have to kind of use your own judgment as to whether you buy that something like that is true. I tend to just say, don't even worry about it until you start seeing trailers or any of the, the bigger part of the production. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking at rumors constantly. And that's just because information, it gets clicks and people click on these things, and then that makes revenue for the people who run
even
these
like
sites.
misread something. And it snowballs into something else.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just a heads up, guys. Lex Luthor as a classic villain is good for most people, and I say go with what works to start and then move on. One of the problems I have these days is like we're going to actually mention it, that they're doing an obscure version of the Silver Surfer for the new Fantastic Four movie. Don't do that if it's like the first of a new production. Use a character that everybody knows,
right?
To keep people familiar.
You don't
with
want
the
this to
product.
be Lexi Luthor? Or
Yes,
anything?
I do not want it to be. Yeah, exactly.
Nailed that. That's great.
And also, guys, go and watch, if you want to see my personal favorite version of Lex Luthor, go watch Smallville. That's just mine. If you like teen drama and Superman.
Brett loves teen drama. That was one of my favorite first bonding moments with Brett, was talking about Pretty Little Liars. Which
what?
Pretty Little
You
Liars
watched that
ruled.
show? Oh
the first
my
four
gosh.
seasons. First 4 seasons.
This is why we're friends.
It was the most.
I'm sorry, when is the Pretty Little Liars episode by episode review podcast coming out? That's what I want to know.
The most ridiculous, over the top shit I'd ever seen in my entire life, and I was like, this is like crack cocaine.
And I remember not watching it and then having some, like I was moving or had some project where I just wanted to have something on for a long time in the background, and putting on like the 7th or whatever end season, and it was haywire.
Yeah,
it was off the walls.
I fell out after like the 4th season.
Me too.
But
I missed the middle season. I just know the last season it was like, excuse me, what is happening with this one?
Not just that though, but okay, Veronica Mars, love Veronica Mars.
Classic.
Everwood, which is basically teen and family drama.
I watched Veronica Mars in early COVID. That was one of the you remember during like the first, when we were all initially locking down, the first 2 weeks people were binging weird stuff.
Forget?
That like first month of COVID to me just felt like such a long period of time. I don't know if it was just me personally.
Were you
for a lot of people.
The whole time?
I was in the house, and like it was just weird. Like a lot of things changed in my life during that like first 6 months of COVID. But I remember that first month I watched Veronica Mars and also Tiger King twice, I think.
Yep. Oh, I remember.
It was a weird time.
I love so went from Veronica Mars to iZombie, which were both created by the same guy, Rob Thomas, the showrunner.
Really? I've never seen iZombie.
iZombie's really, really fun too. And
is that a movie or a show?
It's a show.
Okay,
but it's based on an obscure comic, but it's really, really fun. Made by the same guy, and there's a lot of like what I like about shows like that is you see a lot of the same actors show up from the previous shows because the creator of the show just gets good relationships with those people. Like both of them, but yeah, Veronica Mars was freaking great. My favorite part of COVID was the fact that not like literally like I don't think I ever I never missed a day to go outside because nobody was outside, so I go skate anywhere I wanted all over the city and nobody would bother you. Like a cop would come by, just go and then say, I'm leaving.
You're like, do you have COVID? You are coughing.
Yeah. So that was the best part. Is literally everything was closed.
You're finally just left alone.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was amazing. All right, guys. I got some bad news for this one guy who was in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania man was getting a vasectomy during the 4.8 earthquake. That's rough.
Wow.
That's rough. So it says a Pennsylvania man was getting a vasectomy when a rare earthquake struck New York City area Friday morning, forcing a surgeon to set down his scalpel as the poor guy wondered whether the train was passing.
Look, it was set down his scalpel. That's good.
It. Yes, he did. He didn't
Divine intervention.
He's like he didn't proceed through.
I saw reel, maybe it was a TikTok first, but I saw it on Instagram of this girl being like, she had her hand over one of her eyes and she was like, raise your hand if you were doing your eyebrows during the New York City earthquake, and then she turns her hand and like puts it up and half her eyebrow is gone.
Oh my goodness.
Which I don't know if I believe, like it's one of those things that would be a hilarious joke.
That's
but
even
also,
worse than if she shaved half her eyebrow
like
for clout. That's
you're
the worst
doing
thing I've
something
ever
and
heard.
then it like slips because there's an earthquake.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, as a
Also, she could've
Californian,
blinded herself.
I've been in a lot of earthquakes, and I feel like I have been in some 4.8 earthquakes, if not slightly larger, or in that ballpark. And I don't know, like usually, I don't think an earthquake of that magnitude would cause you to jolt that much.
Okay, that's why I was like,
You
this
know?
seems a little bit of a joke, but
maybe,
if you're on the
depending on
East
where
Coast,
she was.
you're not used to it.
Yeah,
you had
yep.
no idea you were on the same tectonic plate as like Philadelphia.
Could have been shocking.
That was one of my favorite tweets after the earthquake. Someone was like, "This is horrifying to know that I pay Manhattan rent to be on the same tectonic plate as Philadelphia."
You see the person who's like, it was like, man, I just felt an earthquake. Climate change is crazy. And the community notes was just like, New Jersey is on is literally on a fault line.
Yeah, because
So it
of
says,
climate.
this guy's name is Alan. It says, Alan got the shaft timing wise when the 4.8 magnitude quake began shaking the hospital room right as he was going under the knife, fully lucid with local anesthesia at around 10:25 a.m., he said. I thought maybe a train was passing by. We talked about it, how we never forget where we were at that moment. Yeah, I bet.
Especially if it had gone worse, you know, he
Oh,
would have
man.
been.
It'd be great if the doctor just goes, oops.
It would have been great.
If the doctor was a practical joker and was like, whoops.
Like, gotcha.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, that actually does the opposite. Now you're going to have way more kids because it's going to... I don't know how that works, but you know. But the guy looks very happy. Somehow, I don't mean to be mean, but looks like a guy who'd get a vasectomy too. Sorry.
Really? He
does.
doesn't look like one who would need a vasectomy. in
I
my
mean,
opinion.
Maybe it's hot.
I mean,
Maybe
really
that's the
judgmental.
point.
Who's at risk here, says Sarah. I'm not going to comment on this, but you know, maybe he just doesn't want to contribute to climate change and have more earthquakes.
That's most likely
There
what
you
it
go.
is, sadly. All right, guys. You sent me this, and I thought about it after a moment. So this seems innocuous at first. Noah Cyrus liked Miley Cyrus's ex, Liam Hemsworth's latest gym selfie. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why would this be relevant? And then I remembered that...
because you're a man and you don't know.
Then I remembered that Noah Cyrus was the one who dated Dominic Purcell before her mom stole him from
Married him.
Married the guy.
Not just like stole him, but married him.
Married the guy. Made him a stepdad.
Oh, that was crazy. So you sent Brett this one?
Me?
Yeah.
I thought
No.
you sent me this one.
No, but I'll take credit
But
for it.
I was on Pop Culture Crisis when we talked about
Yes.
her mom marrying her ex-boyfriend.
Okay. Maybe Mary sent me this.
This drama is wild. I mean, the Cyrus family is so messy.
Yeah.
But then also it's escalating because now she's like branching out from like, I get it, you're mad at your mom, she stole your man. That seems very rude, not good. But now you're like taking shots at your sister by liking
Well, but
her.
didn't Miley pay for the wedding?
Is that true?
I believe
I'm not-
Miley was involved in the
I
wedding.
know she was like
somehow.
maid of honor. I don't know
Yeah.
if she paid for it.
Oh, was that what it was? I think you might be right about that.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I
think
just look who
revenge.
you like and who you like the photos of matters, and it's going to be, especially if you're a celebrity, where there's just weirdos who keep track of this stuff. Like this was on an actual website talking about it. And
Look, it's life. You got to know. Also, do you feel like Liam Hemsworth is like, please, I do not want to be involved with you guys anymore. Like,
for
I'm
sure.
backpedaling right out. That house burned down. We're out of here.
For sure.
You wrote your weird song.
He started dating Miley when she was still kind of normal. If anyone remembers, yeah. So like, I don't think he wants anything to do with the Cyrus family.
He's like, don't pull me. He's like, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Do you think he's going to return by like blocking Noah Cyrus? Like, is he going to block all of the Cyruses and be like, please keep your drama over there?
That's the best thing you could do, right? Or maybe he
Run
just
far
responds,
away.
just to troll. He sends her. He just responds with, "Hey."
No, I feel like you want to be like, you don't have eyebrows, I'm out. This
Well,
is like,
okay.
sorry, that's a shot on her bleached eyebrows, in my opinion,
Yeah.
which
Well-
it's very hard to pull off.
I'm studying this selfie, and he put #leg day, but he's covering his legs and he's showing off his arms.
Yeah.
So what kind of message is that sending, Liam?
Not a
he's
very
just
coherent one.
Not fully there.
Maybe he's
no
not all
one
there.
said he was here for his academic prowess.
Well, I mean,
right?
he's always going to have to worry about playing second fiddle to Chris Hemsworth anyway. So
True.
there's probably some adequacy issues there.
Or maybe he's getting
Insecurity.
you to think about it. Maybe he's telling you he skipped leg day. He only does arm day.
It's the mystery. Well, just like Noah's eyebrows.
I saw this and I thought, man, I'm so glad that I have a slightly normal family.
This is crazy. Can you imagine if your sister-in-law was like, Mom stole my boyfriend, so I'm gonna flirt with your ex-husband? Like,
our mom stole my boyfriend.
Yeah, Miley and this guy got married. They had like a very low-key wedding. I remember because I really liked her wedding dress was by Vivienne Westwood, and I remember being like, oh, that's so pretty. And then they were divorced like I think a year later, but at that point they had been off and on or involved for like I think almost a decade. Like,
yeah, and that's when Miley released that Flowers song, right?
Somewhere after that
hit single.
How did I'm not going to say the radio industry is corrupt, but she won like best new song for that, or like best pop song of the year. It has 3 lyrics. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
I'm just saying, it seemed
inorganic.
It seemed like maybe someone had a hand in saying this is the best one. Or we're getting really simple as a society.
It's. I think we're just getting really simple as a society. But it is fair to say that you could say that somebody who says, you paid for the wedding of our mom who stole my boyfriend, therefore I'm going to like a photo of your ex.
Also, isn't she engaged to some sort of like grungy looking skinny white guy who has a bunch of face tattoos?
Are we sure?
Am I wrong here?
Sadly, that doesn't like narrow it down these days.
Well, and also, maybe she doesn't care about that much. She's like Liam. Great leg day workout.
She's not going to miss out on this opportunity to get back at her sister.
What a weird, petty world they live in.
It is a weird, petty world. All right, you're going to have to tell me what this story is about. So this is a story about a YouTuber named Aspen Is it Ovard?
Ovard, I think.
Ovard?
I find this story deeply fascinating. So Aspen Ovard is like
she's a YouTuber.
She's a YouTuber. She started her YouTube channel, I think, when she was in high school. She's from Utah, but she's not a Mormon. And she's known for, like, her very aesthetic lifestyle. Everything's kind of beige. You know what I mean? Okay. And she has, I think, cumulatively over 3 million followers. She's big on all of the platforms. Okay. And she married her husband when they were very young. I think she's, like, maybe 27 right now. And on April 1st, she announced, she put up a video saying, at 34 weeks, I had my 3rd baby. Oh, wow, great. But then people within like an hour revealed that was the day that she had filed for divorce from her husband. And I find this deeply fascinating because there's this line where celebrities come out with these like, we have broken up and this, that, and other statements. This girl has said nothing, but she has posted like 2 different sponsored content posts. She's just not going to address the fact that like her brand, which is built around, I don't know, her lifestyle is now completely different, and there's no explanation. And I find this to be the most fascinating part of like the celebrity influencer paradox, where she's in Page 6, she's in People magazine, like people want to know, is she just never going to say anything? Like, could she do that? Could it just be nothing?
I actually believe that that's one of those things where the most powerful thing you can do in this world is just you play on the fact that everybody has disparate bits of information about what's going on in your life. So if you just don't address something, you might lose the maybe half the people know what's going on and then are weirded out by the fact that you're not addressing it. Maybe half of those people care that you're not doing it, but the other half doesn't know at all. So by not addressing it, you're actually winning. You might lose some amount of people who are turned off by it, but only about half of the people that know are actually going to feel that way. So it actually keeps you in the positive.
Right. And I think so many people have like these parasocial relationships with influencers. Like one of the first headlines I saw afterwards was, well, she posted this video with her baby, but it turns out the baby might have been born like several weeks earlier in March, which like she's not obligated to tell anyone she had a baby, except people have come to expect that she's going to tell them promptly about what's going on in her life.
Where it might feel like a betrayal because they're like, you'll tell us what you ate for breakfast, but you won't tell us if you had a kid.
And you revealed you had a kid as a distraction from the fact that you're actually getting divorced, which we who, I assume her audience is kind of young, we who feel attached to your marriage now feel burned by, which the internet is just this very wild place. Are people entitled to know this information because she was so public for so long? Does it matter that she didn't say anything? Does she have to? Is her husband going to say something? So many loose ends. I need to know.
It's like when somebody who lives their life online then asks for privacy when something goes wrong, and people say, well, hold up. Like, you've benefited from the public persona that you've had for so long. Why are you, given the grace of privacy now?
Right.
And I think it's fair to say that, look, you have a right to ask for that privacy. I'm just saying that the pragmatic side of you understands that a lot of people aren't going to feel the same.
Right. People are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
But I don't think she owes them anything.
No, I don't think she owes them anything. On the other hand, will this change the kind of engagement she has with her audience, right? If her audience felt like, oh, you're a cute young mom with kids and you're married, like, is the fact that now she's going into her divorce girl era going to make people not want to interact with her? Will it affect, because I kept thinking, you know, a lot of brand content is scheduled. So if she had this brand deal that she had to post on whichever day, April 3rd, the brand may not have known. It's not like she's going to call up the brand and be like, by the way, I'm going to announce I'm getting divorced, or I'm going to try to avoid announcing. Like, that content had to go up anyways, which means that, like, there was another YouTuber who got into a lot of trouble because it turned out she had rehomed the kid she had adopted from Korea, and she got dropped by tons of brands. Like, I don't think brands would drop you for getting divorced. On the other hand, these brands that are like, we're a wholesome family content, maybe they don't want to be involved with you right now. Like, do you have an obligation to tell the companies you're working with about these kinds of changes?
Which is why it's weird. Where back in the day, you didn't monetize such personal aspects of your life.
Yeah,
I wonder if that started with like the Rachel Rays and the Martha Stewarts and the ones who made careers off of stuff for moms, stuff for homemakers and things like that.
I think there is a relationship between like you're selling this story, and it's not that anyone should or shouldn't do this, but I can't imagine that these big changes in your life, like the same way that I've heard this thing that like mommy vloggers will like have another baby to like boost their engagement because people are suddenly like excited about it again.
Right.
Whereas like it works in the same way that negative publicity works. Like if you have a scandal, like you're splitting up with your husband, people want to know. So they're going to be more likely to check all your pages for updates. Yeah. So in some ways you are still like, I assume this is not why you get divorced, but you were still encouraging an engagement boost, you know, like this is the strange thing.
It's a career change.
Last week we covered a story where Tori Spelling, she called her husband and divorced him on the phone in the middle of her podcast.
That was her first episode, right?
I saw that you were talking about that.
She launched her podcast with her calling her husband saying, I'm filing the paperwork.
That seems crazy. You have children. Like in this case,
that was my point, because they were separated, things were bad, fine. Like even if the divorce isn't a surprise to either of you, you have kids. Like think of the not to sound like a Christian conservative from the 90s, but want you think of the children, right? Like
you sound like any decent human being, right? Like you making publicity out of your decision to split up from their father probably is not great for them to stumble across, or their friends to stumble across on your podcast.
Right.
Like, do they deserve
I feel like
this?
That wouldn't reflect well on her in the divorce either.
I don't know.
It seems like she's not thinking far ahead.
Yeah.
And she was just thinking like this, but like with Tori Spelling, she's launching a podcast, and this is a salacious way to get people to go click on that first episode to hear it.
Then all I can think of when I see stuff like that is like, then all you're doing is you're boiling down extremely important and personal moments of your life, and you start rating them by like engagement size. Like, the worst day of my life only netted like a 7 point whatever on the in ratings, or only netted however many million views, and is if you get like 100 million views on you, and I'm sure she got nowhere near that, but say you get 100 million views on your divorce video. Well, guess what? There's all sorts of music videos that get billions of views that have very little to do with the personal lives of the people that made them. Is your pain and sadness only worth 100 million views? It shouldn't be worth any views.
Yeah. But instead, they're like, hey, people will be interested in me for this, so I will do it, which it seems so kind of emotionally numb, you know?
Yeah.
And Tori Spelling's a great example because it does contrast Aspen Ovar, the YouTuber, who's not talking about it at all. Like she's kind of taking the opposite approach, which is to like continue posting almost business as usual, except the fact that everyone is like, no, but business is not as usual.
Right. There's an in-between. I mean, I think that you do, to an extent, owe people a little bit of an explanation, but only as much as you're willing to give. And with Tori Spelling, like in her case, I wonder if that knowledge that when you post something negative or shocking, you're going to get a lot of attention for it, almost drives you more to do it more. Like maybe she wasn't going to finalize the divorce, but her podcast was launching. So she was like, oh, well,
it's a good time.
Yep. May as well do it.
It's crazy. The combination of business and personal that leads to really, really, really dangerous results for people when everything becomes about the engagement that you get out of it from a bunch of people that, let's face it, don't actually care about you.
Right.
It's parasocial, and they don't actually give a crap about your well-being. And the sad thing is I think about that. I'm like, think of all the family and friends the loved ones, maybe people who were there the day they got married, or people who who
actually know them,
who actually know them, who care about the two of them. Think about all the people that didn't get notified ahead of time, and imagine how. And I'm sure most of them don't care, but maybe one of them's just like, really, like I've been your guys' friend for 20 years, and you told a bunch of people on the internet before you told me. That's
well,
crazy.
so the other thing I know about I'm just remembering this, the Aspen Overard thing was that I guess she had gone on like a sponsored baby moon trip very recently in like March or something. And so she had posted with her husband looking all happy and in love, and people were like, how long have you known this is coming? Like, I think people start to feel like they have bought into this. We are really getting updates on your life. And it's an example of when it starts to be like, oh, this is your business. Like, selling us your happy life is actually a business for you, and we feel defrauded in some way.
Totally.
I think that's one of the pictures. You can scroll down.
Yeah, no, they're there. There's the baby moon photos.
So they were staged, right?
I don't know. The other thing that I heard was that she posted on TikTok, like when she was in labor with him, like a video with him in the room. And so the question is like, okay, so she had her baby in March, and so he was there, and like,
I don't know how
knows?
much that proves, because I feel like he would be there for the birth regardless, but it's the baby moon. There's something so deceptive about that.
And it reminded me of this that I saw from Friday, which was how, is it Isla or Isla Fisher? I don't know.
Isla.
Isla. Okay, I was like,
Isla.
wow, I feel so smart. Okay, this is how she announced her divorce from Sacha Baron Cohen. It's a picture of them in their in tennis get-up, and it says, after a long tennis match lasting over 20 years, we are finally putting our rackets down. In 2023, we jointly filed to end our marriage. We have always prioritized our privacy and have been quietly working through this change. We forever share in our devotion and love for our children. We sincerely appreciate you respecting your family's wish for privacy. I just thought this was a bonkers way to announce your divorce, and very on brand, I suppose.
A strange for no reason tennis pun.
Yes, like I suppose truly the mind of a creative to come up with that. But it does go to what it would be like to be a celebrity couple and have to go through stuff like this. He's obviously going through his own thing right now with Rebel Wilson, and
there's a $19.99 super chat. Do I read that or no?
Yep.
Okay. I don't remember what the threshold is. I'm out of practice. So Rhaegar. Can't say your last name. Targaryen. Oh yeah, Game of Thrones, right? Said, what in the name of the Lord is a baby moon?
Can you explain that, ladies?
It's kind of a new fad, I think, but maybe people have been doing it forever, where like before you have a kid, you take like a weekend
while
you're
still pregnant.
Yeah, you're still pregnant. And I know a lot of couples do it, especially when they have like their first kid, because it's like the last time you maybe travel for a long time before you have a baby. But when you're an influencer, you can get paid to do it, and I think when you're a regular person, maybe not.
Yeah,
I do want to give credit to Hydra, who left the comment. I guess their score wasn't love all.
That's funny.
Is that a tennis pun?
Yeah, because that means like 0-0.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Why would you need a tennis pun? Like, does she just like this photo of? What if this is like an Easter egg, and this is like the night he cheated on her, and it's from a costume party, and so she's like, I'm putting this up so he knows that I'm mad.
Ooh.
Wow, girls are crazy.
Yeah, maybe he didn't even know. This is how she announced it to him too.
Horrible tennis pun.
Baby moons are kind of similar. They give me hope for society, just like gender reveals give me hope for society, because
those are new too.
In a world where we talk about depopulation and birth rates and constant talk of gender ideology, knowing that there's people who go on baby moons and there's people who are like, it's a boy or it's a girl, I'm gonna pop the balloon. Like, that reminds me that there's still very much normal people.
I love it. Also, I saw some headline of I can't remember, but an actress who's dating maybe an NFL player, but maybe they haven't confirmed. And all these places were reporting that like she had gone to his sister's sex reveal, like as opposed to gender, because that's a politically charged word, I guess.
So you have to go to the baby's biological sex reveal.
Not to make everything about politics, but having gender reveals is really good for me, because I think that we should embrace gender as a concept and as a
very old-fashioned,
as a two thing as opposed to multi thing. No, I think baby moons and gender reveals are good. I think people should celebrate things that they're excited about, and I think we shouldn't limit a culture that like detracts from that. There are obviously some ridiculous versions of this. With Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher, I don't know a ton about him, but they got married a really long time ago. I mean, they're
said
a
over 20 years,
long-lasting Hollywood
Yeah.
marriage,
Yeah.
and she converted to I think like Orthodox Judaism for him, or maybe I don't remember. So it is one of those things that, given the timing of all the Rebel Wilson stuff, like. I saw another thing saying like, oh, her father's death took a toll on her, and so that's why they split up. Like, it is unusual, but again, like, I don't know these people. They can get divorced for any reason.
All right, some big news from from the world of country music. Morgan Wallen was arrested over the weekend and charged with not one, not two, but 3 felonies. That's crazy. I mean, I just didn't imagine.
Racking them up.
Yeah, reckless. Musician Morgan Wallen was arrested and charged with 3 counts of reckless endangerment after an incident at a bar in Nashville, Tennessee on Sunday night. The singer threw a chair off the 6th floor of country singer Eric Church's new honky tonk bar. He was in trouble like the other year at Kid Rock's bar.
Let him live his life,
the
and
guy-
also stop letting us go on rooftop bars.
He just keeps getting arrested at bars. That's the problem. He needs to drink at home. It says the bar staff told police that Wallen was responsible for throwing the chair and that he reportedly laughed after the incident. The country singer was arrested and charged with 3 counts of reckless endangerment just before 11 p.m. He also smiled in his mugshot.
Yeah, he looks like a choir boy.
He does. He does a
In
little
that
bit.
photo, at least.
And I was thinking about it because he also had this video the other day where he talked about setting a new attendance record at a venue and talked about Taylor Swift then would likely break the record, and then people like yelled at him. So this is the video that he's talking about. It's really it's so like inoffensive, and people are like yelling at him because they love Taylor Swift so much.
They told me right before I walked on stage that this is the single most attended concert in the history of this building. And that we're the first people to do it 2 nights in a row. So thank you for making it possible for me to say that. Thank you for listening and loving the same music that I do. I'm gonna say that until Taylor Swift comes to town in the fall. And then we'll
That's all he did.
Well, they're not booing him,
I know y'all got one.
right? They're booing Swift.
But the people on the internet are mad at him for saying this as if he was insulting her when what he's actually doing is complimenting her.
That's just
Right.
He's just figuring out the crowds and the statistics.
Yes.
It's not.
So I think about this in the number one comment that kept coming up about this was still, but he's a racist because of the stuff from 2021. Do you remember that when he got
Yeah.
he got caught on like a Ring doorbell camera saying the N-word, and he just
But then he just carried on business as usual, and everything was fine.
So
He
no,
is the
this-
ultimate survivor of cancel culture.
No,
He
so here, what I thought was crazy was, so he was temporarily dropped from his label for that incident. His label and radio stations pulled him, but not for the drunken, disorderly, or we live in a world now where saying something bad or uncouth is actually worse than actual crimes.
Yeah, in this case, like a chair off the 6th floor of a building,
hurt
like
someone.
that is
Yeah, that's bad.
dangerous. That's not so good. We don't like it. Didn't Zach Bryan get arrested earlier this year for
Yeah.
like a DUI or something?
Yeah, twice I think.
So there is a level of like country music men, especially young country music stars, raging hard and probably making bad choices. 3 felonies seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything will come of this. I think he'll talk it down to.
He's
3
not
this-
going to be like writing and releasing music from prison.
Hey, Suge Knight, Death Row Records producer, he has a podcast from prison.
Really?
Yep, he does a podcast from prison. I have no idea how.
I'm sorry, when are we
impressive.
going on it? I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying, right? So
Collab.
I just think it's interesting now how it's more unforgivable to say mean things about somebody else or insult identity than it is to commit actual crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one word.
Yeah, one time.
This actually could have killed someone.
But the thing is, like I said, he got dropped temporarily, but didn't he still win like Artist of the Year or something like that?
Yeah.
Like he did not. He was not so
He bounced
canceled.
back.
He bounced back very quickly. Maybe that record label didn't like him anyways. Like this one seems worse to me because again, it is a more dangerous situation. But you know, I'm less certain by words than I guess other people are. So
Yeah.
Who knows what to say?
Temporarily suspended from his label over a racial slur back in 2020.
Was he like calling someone it, or was it just out of
No,
context?
he was not. It was not referenced to
He
a
just
specific
used the
person. He
word.
just used it in a sentence while he was
Okay.
coming home from a. Again, I think they said he was coming home from a bar. So what it really is he needs to stop going
Morgan?
to bars.
Look, you can't tell him how to live his life. This is America.
You know, he was on The Voice.
I forgot that until one of the articles you sent me mentioned it.
Yeah, he was. He was like he sang like Howie Day, or he didn't do country. It was really interesting. I didn't. I always forgot about that. But yeah,
Well, maybe if you guys let him stop doing country music, he would go stop throwing chairs and drinking alcohol.
That'd be good. All right, I want to give Shane H. Wilder, I don't know if he's in the chat today, but I want to give him credit because he did make this. I don't know if this is going to get us copyrighted because he did it to Tim's song. I don't know if Tim's song will ding us for copyright on here, just algorithmically. But I asked him, I said, there was this awful video last week of Bobbi Althoff dancing awkwardly at a bar, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever watched in my entire life. And I begged, I said, we need to have Trump doing his Trump dance with her in this. And Shane decided to do us all a favor and make this. So here, look at this. Yeah, headphones at a medium here. This is great. Make it right. Thank you.
We're marching to the beat of genocide. We're killing at the winds and tide.
I like you in this edit because it looks like you're playing the piano.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to thank Shane for that. He got it done with the quickness, but I just love the Trump dancing and Bobbi. It's not awkward when Trump does it. It is awkward when Bobbi Althoff does it. Sorry, that's just the way things are.
Because
I
she's
don't make the
trying
rules.
to be awkward,
Which makes it
makes it
worse.
unfunny. Yeah.
There's nothing forced. Awkward is the worst.
Yes.
But also like, okay, that's actually my worst. That's the worst type of like TV humor too. So I've been we've been working our way through this old show called Third Watch. It's from like the early 2000s. It's from '99. All the way to 2005. And in the 6th season, this character Carlos is he's dating he's an EMT and he's dating another EMT who's kind of like an astrology crystal chick, but she's got parents from the suburbs of from upstate New York who are just like NIMBY, like they're saying like weirdly racist things while trying to not be racist, and the whole thing is supposed to just be uncomfortable. And the whole time I'm watching it, I want to pull my hair out because that's the worst type of humor to me. Even if it is like based on, there's actually people like that,
Yeah.
but it's always done to such a comical extent that it's just designed to make people watching it feel really uncomfortable.
Right,
I
right.
hate that type of humor.
It's like too strong of a stereotype.
Yeah.
That it's just not believable. And
Yeah.
cringe.
It's cringy and it's stupid.
Right.
And that was back in 2005 when they did this. So you can already tell what Hollywood's thought of those people are. All right, what would you guys like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Are you asking us or are we asking
I'm
the chat?
asking
And
you
Claire
guys.
gets to decide.
It's your choice.
Oh, I can't
She's
make
the special
decisions. I'm a
guest.
lady. Brett, you make a decision.
We'll start with. I always say it's better to start with cringe before doing so. We have first of all, we got two here. So we got one that I'm going to show you, and then another one that was a request from Mary that we watch something unprompted. She said, "Don't watch this beforehand." So I am going to play this
that
here.
makes me a little nervous.
All right,
scared.
So this was Mary's request for us to watch. Looks
Which
like
one
it's-
is this? Are you going to tell
this
us? Or are we going to figure it out?
I mean, they technically both count as cringe. I'm guessing if Mary says that you should watch it and not tell me what it is beforehand, that she assumes it's cringe. But let's
right.
go
So
ahead
this
and
is
watch.
Skylar from Breaking Bad.
Yes, it is.
You're a Rizzler.
What?
How else could you possibly have all those yachts? Oh, my skippity wall. Phantom tax?
It's motion. I just have hella Riz. I'm not a beta. Phantom taxed all your grimace shakes, your Riz. Kais, you're not even shaved off your dreads. You're back to having El Riz. But you know the mogging. And I know the rizzing. I'm thinking, maybe you and I...
More shots for the montage at the end. I guess that makes Walt the ultimate Sigma.
Is that like if Breaking Bad was made in 2024?
I get that. I mean that, or it's like those Andrew Tate Sigma.
This is what talking to Search.com is like.
Yes,
I just want everyone to
it
know.
literally is like talking to Search.
This is trying to talk like to Search. Me being like, what's the IRL schedule for the week? And him being like, no cap, hella Riz.
Mog.
What? Sir, what?
then
I'll
you're
let
like-
you know about that, John. What?
Who the
My
hell?
name's Hannah
Shut-
Claire.
Hannah Claire's like, who the hell is Kai Cenat?
Please, just tell me what my schedule is. Yeah, Search holds my hand or my life in his hands like a fragile bird.
I think the one I hate more than anything is when people say she ate or he ate. That's the worst. When somebody says something like they ate.
Yeah.
The 8 one I don't like. I like
Eat
when
it up.
people are like, is the producer in the room with us? Is the Riz in the room with us? Like, I like that one a lot. But, you know, the thing about all of this is when we look back, I'm very excited about the, you know, Gen Z to everybody else dictionary that will come out and the layers of memes and...
I don't know, but like I don't remember Gen X saying the same thing to us, to millennials.
But not understanding our lingo?
Yeah.
I think it was there a little bit. Our generation, or like millennial generation, I think it was the advent of texting that created all. Do you remember seeing those like charts where it'll be like, this is what your teen is saying, and also like TTYL or like, and it's obviously like all of them are wrong. BRB.
Yeah.
That I think was our advent because some of the changes in language happened with technology, right? So because there was texting, and at the time texting was on the smaller keyboard,
but
and
then it came back, and
then
it became cool to not use abbreviations. I never used abbreviations in my texts.
I don't use abbreviations for the most part, very rarely. And it became a generational thing, but that was again the break of the people who were up having to type things out when you press the 3 key.
Yeah,
6
you used to have
times.
to type with like the key, not the actual keyboard, but like the numbers.
The numbers, and
right?
they all had a value. But then there was a
T9.
generation that got the keyboard, so you could type everything out, and you didn't need the abbreviations. And I think in some ways that signaled that you had, you know, the sidekick. Or
Another reason
it was.
to watch Veronica Mars. She had the T-Mobile sidekick.
Right. And now so much of the slang that's created is TikTok based, and that is algorithm based and also changing at the speed of light.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
And-
changing so much so fast.
Right. So I think there were criticisms of our generations with this type of slang, but it wasn't moving the way that Gen Z is. And Gen Z is the layered, right? They're such an online generation, and Gen Alpha will be worse, where this is a reference to this meme that is a reference to here, and it gets shortened like this, and that's why you say it like that. There's some guy on that I see on Instagram, I guess he's a middle school teacher, and he will just make Gen Z slang up and try and convince his students that that's what other middle schoolers are saying, because they don't know, because it's changing even amongst themselves.
Wow.
I love it.
Wow.
All right, this is the other cringe of the day that I had for today. Cringe or just strong combat tactics? You tell me. They don't seem like they're in the same weight class to me personally, but
Oh my word.
I think it's just strong combat tactics.
Does that count as a takedown when she fell?
I think that technically counts as a takedown.
The
Shouldn't
knockout.
it? Why does this one get water in here?
Dunno. I saw that. I thought it was a skit at first. I was like, why would they be allowed to compete in the same?
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought there was going to be an unfair advantage, but that's not how I was expecting it to go.
Yeah.
You have to catch her from that kind of advantage.
All right, guys. Now that we are, I almost queued of the day. I
you
just,
double cringe us?
I did 2
Yeah,
cringes
and
and I
you didn't
almost.
even give us like a palate cleanser.
Okay, this is from Derek Tonkin. Says, this is Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. I hope so. The survivor of an abandoned litter that my wife, Jules, and daughter bottle fed. He's helping her shop for shoes and is the coolest cat.
That's so cute.
Aw.
That is adorable.
Oh my gosh.
He's like got his little
He's
paw
just
up on
living
the
his life, you
little
know?
paw up on the monitor there. Let's do one more here. This is from Citizen Journalist. Our kitty Buzz for your cute or cringe segment, sir. Thanks so much.
These are some really
beautiful
handsome
cat.
tabbies.
That is a very handsome cat.
That stripe, it's just great.
I would say regal.
I would say regal as well.
That's what whenever. Okay, so I had a daily routine. When I would come in the castle, I'd say, "Hello, Bucko. You're looking quite regal today." And then I would walk upstairs. He would kind of look up from his slumber, nod, and then go back to bed. That was our thing.
Aww.
Yep. I miss him.
Cats.
I miss him. All right, guys. Let's now that we are 49 minutes into the show, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. So if you guys don't remember, not that long ago, actor Jonathan Majors was found guilty of assault of his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. He was promptly fired from Marvel, taken out of the MCU. Of course, he was portraying the character of Kang. Well, his sentencing came today, and lo and behold, like I think most people with half a brain assumed, he is not going to spend a day in jail. He has been sentenced to a year of counseling. In his domestic assault case. Counseling. So it says, Jonathan Majors has been sentenced to 1 year of domestic violence counseling after being convicted last year of assaulting and harassing his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. The actor must complete a 52-week domestic violence programming in Los Angeles, where he currently resides. He must also continue the mental health therapy he has been enrolled in and provide updates on his progress. Do you guys, like, are you shocked at all anymore when you see these things and you don't see, like, celebrities being held to account? Like, I don't know if it's maybe just because I just never expect it anymore. When Danny Masterson was found guilty and then sent to jail, I was like, that's actually kind of, I just never imagined.
On the second try with him, right?
Yes, exactly. But then, like, he got moved to a minimum security prison. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not even in a maximum security prison anymore. And you can go up in the air about whether he's guilty or not. I don't know, as is true with most of these types of cases. I don't know. I just usually don't expect the celebrities to actually be found guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect average people to be found guilty half the time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this is a New York court, so
Yes.
I just don't trust any sort of jury system in Manhattan. I think there are a lot of people who are violent offenders who Manhattan releases and lets average New Yorkers deal with in the worst ways, aka suffer from more violence.
That was what I thought was weird about this to begin with. I was like, I thought it was weird that they were prosecuting an actor of any stature that size who's been in Marvel movies and things like that.
But I think domestic violence is enough of a PR trigger where they have to do something. And some of this, for me, you know, I think one of the questions is always, what is the purpose of incarceration or any kind of criminal justice system, right? Like, I think domestic violence is absolutely awful. If he was incarcerated, would that prevent him from modeling the same types of behaviors in future relationships if we were released, right? Like if he went to jail for a year for this, for 2 years, 5 years, like does that actually it's way worse because there's no bar and I have no idea what's coming.
Manual, I set it off. They earned it. They earned it.
A little warning next time, Brett.
I will not give you a warning. That's half the fun. It's not warning you.
Well, it's also less fun because you weren't surprised either. Now I feel like it's just you ganging up on us.
That's literally what it is. It's me paying attention to the bar. I'm like, take that, ladies.
No.
Yeah.
Hannah Claire was trying to make a point.
I was making a very serious point about domestic violence in our prison system, but I guess
this
not.
country.
I don't make the rules, okay?
No, but you know what I mean? Like, what is the goal for all of this? I'm not actually against him getting some kind of, like, you know, domestic violence, year-long training. He should probably also face jail time. I don't know enough about this case to say for sure. But, again, I don't think New York would do that. I think New York is saying, well, it's domestic violence, so we have to do something, but also we don't actually like to prosecute anyone, or at least anyone who really deserves it. But again, will this be effective? Like, what is the goal for punishing him, whether he's an actor or not? If the goal is to prevent him from being an abuser in the future.
Does the mental health therapy actually help in these cases?
I don't know.
Like, it just seems like, especially in Hollywood and in these circles, that they believe that therapy is this, like, universal fix for everything, and it just never seems that way to me.
I was reading this study that was saying one of the reasons that millennials or younger generations are report higher rates of depression and anxiety is because they're the most aware of their feelings and they're basically constantly thinking about the fact that they are depressed.
Is awareness
they have to,
always
like,
the best thing?
Be busy and do other things and like occupy. Like I think there is a benefit to being in touch with your emotions, being able to communicate about them. On the other hand, being obsessed with your emotions can be its own burden.
Right.
That has nothing to do with domestic violence.
I've
another thought.
I mean, it goes hand in hand with mental wellness and mental illness. You know.
I was talking about this with somebody. This was actually a thought that used to come to my head a lot when I started addiction recovery, which was like, the more I learned about symptoms and pitfalls of addiction, the more it boxes you into, like when somebody says, if you do this drug this many times, you're going to start going through withdrawal. Well, that might be true, but if you're not aware of that ahead of time, your brain boxes yourself into thinking that it could be worse than it is, or thinking that recovery is going to be worse than it is, because there's all sorts of limitations put on what they think you can accomplish and what they think you can do, or how you're supposed to do it. So the more that you categorize yourself, the more that you box yourself into these labels, the worse it ends up making, at least for a person who's like somebody who overthinks and is in their own head a lot. And I always found that damaging to myself. Like, I felt like the more that I learned about it, the more powerless I felt, as opposed to people who just kind of friends who would just drive-by substances. Maybe sometimes they would go through benders, but then they'd pull out. It's like if they were told after doing something for a period of time that this is now a problem and you're going to be struggling with this forever, maybe that's true, or maybe it was just something that they worked themselves through and then never thought about again. Now, that's not me advising you on a way to take these things. I think seeking help in those things is obviously the way to go. That's what I had to do. But it doesn't always feel like a barrage of more information is always going to be helpful, especially if you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see what you're saying.
And our understanding of psychology and the human mind is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And I feel like now more than ever, we're putting all of our eggs in this one basket of, oh, we figured out the human psyche, when we have not. And in 100 years, we could find out that everything we believe to be true now is actually completely wrong.
Have you ever seen those like those side by sides they do of all the things that have changed? Like, oh, salt is bad for you. Oh, just kidding, salt is good for you. Paper bags are the way to go. Nope, we have to use plastic bags. It's like it changes every 20 years based on who the highest lobbyer is in the industry. So it's like, what do you actually have to believe anymore?
And with therapy in particular, there are a lot of wonderful therapists who do great things, but there are also, you know, the odds are anybody who has any kind of issue could also be like, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get licensed, I'm going to be a therapist, and now I'm going to tell you what's a good idea. Like, it's a fallible science, or it's a fallible course of treatment. And again, I'm not against therapy. I think it can be really helpful for people, but
yeah, definitely.
There could be therapists who are in it for like their own sort of because they have their own emotional
validation.
They have their own emotional wounds that they haven't really addressed, and so now we're sort of saying like, good luck to you two.
Yeah, it's like how doctors can have a God complex.
Right.
A psychologist could as well.
Of course, right? Or they could have their own bias and perceive a situation in a way that is actually not accurate because they have their own, you know, or complicated history.
They can also be duped. They're human. They're not just like anybody else, just like their client. They're not above their clients. They're, you know, they're
it makes me mad with like if you were a narcissist and you went into therapy and you were sort of like, everyone gets me and this, that, and the other.
You could just lie.
Because you could only tell them your side of the story.
Right.
Like when would a therapist be like, bring your wife in here, let me hear her side of this.
It just feels like there's like this over medicalization of all of these issues. Now that's not necessarily the case for this, but his ex, the one who this was perpetrated upon, did release a statement. Jabari entered the room shortly after and delivered a victim impact statement saying that Majors is not sorry and has not accepted responsibility for the assault. He will do this again. He will hurt other women. He will hurt another woman. This is a man who believes he is above the law. I had a career in life and body, all of which he damaged.
Yeah.
Wasn't this assault caught on film?
That's a yes and a no. So there's the video of him like exiting the cab and like literally running away from him or from her as she's like chasing him. But like the part that he was prosecuted for takes place in the cab, and there wasn't video, at least not released to the public, that showed what actually happened when she basically took his phone and he reached to get it back and roughed her up in doing so. And that's the part that isn't caught on video, because early on in the prosecution, or at least before this went to trial, his lawyer, it's like Priya Chaudhry or whatever, said that they had that video. I don't think that, as far as I know, that was never released to the public, because I never saw the video from inside the cab that showed it actually happening. But the prosecution clearly, I mean, they found him guilty of this. And I just wonder if this dude is going to even be able to, like, I don't think this is going to hurt him in a couple of years. I think this is, by Hollywood standards, pretty tame in that he'll have roles. He lost his role at Marvel, but in a year he'll rebrand and he'll come back and we'll see what happens from there. Right. And I see different schools of thought on this. On one hand, people say like, look, domestic violence is never okay. And I think most people would agree that that's obviously true. But a lot of people also love the idea of a story about redemption. Yeah. I tend to fall in the camp of just don't trust any actor ever and don't look for redemption from Hollywood celebrities.
And I don't think redemption happens in a year.
Exactly.
Right. And I wonder too,
well, this is coming up because of the Nala thing right now that everybody's talking about.
Right. And I wonder too how much of it is like these people had a chaotic relationship. Obviously, domestic violence is not okay, but as a society, how much do we need, instead of focusing on maybe internal mental health, how much do we need to start talking about what healthy boundaries and relationships look like? Like, it doesn't sound like this was an isolated incident. It sounds like if she's chasing down the street, and it all sounds like there were issues brewing for a long time. Yeah. And to me, that's the big issue with anybody, right? If you knew someone who would get into horrible fights with their partner, and then later you were like, oh yeah, it makes sense that actually it was abusive, like that's scary from the beginning.
Yeah, because you would never want to say that someone provoked something like that, but if she is taking his phone away from him, that is crossing a boundary. Is his
Technically,
response
you're committing a crime
appropriate?
by
No,
doing
it's over the top, and that's the crime. But as you were saying, it's like both parties aren't perfect in this situation, and it could have just been a toxic relationship.
And that seems to be the sentiment that's been true of most of his relationships. There's also been multiple.
But that means that like he is a consistent contributor to toxic relationship, which then you have to wonder about, right?
And then there's also people who've said that he's the same way on set. And it's like, look, I don't know if I trust people's opinions secondhand. Hollywood is a very, very cutthroat industry with a lot of people who love the idea of taking down a person with hearsay. Like, what am I supposed to believe on that? All I can think about is whether the dude will get more roles again. And then like I look at it more from the analytical standpoint. What will be the marketing tool when he tries to come back? Kevin Spacey, who, you know, is persona non grata in Hollywood, has never been actually, I don't believe he's ever been prosecuted. He's never been convicted.
He has been prosecuted.
He's never been convicted of the crimes, but he is still acting. He's just not acting in America, right? He's acting in French films or in foreign films. So it's like there's always going to be some producer that will be willing to work with you. I don't think his path is nearly that treacherous. I think that he waits a year. And let's face it, most people have minuscule attention spans.
Well, Chris Brown is still on tour, and he's still producing
music,
never apologized. Right? He just never apologized, and people talk about it openly. Well, and there are people who defend him, and I think the videos that I remember from that time period seem more definitive of what was going on at the time.
Yeah, but did you see his documentary he released a few years ago where he said that actually Rihanna was the abuser and that she assaulted him first, and then this was a response. His reaction was in response to her assaulting him.
Interesting.
Has he hit anyone since?
I just think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that he has been at least accused of it.
And one of his managers too.
Everyone
right?
is toxic.
But he knew the path forward for a dude who's got a whole bunch of toxic claims against him. He just never addressed them. He's left.
He just never stopped making
and just never stopped making music,
right.
and he just kept working.
Catchy music.
And it is interesting. So with Jonathan Majors, he gets sentenced to domestic violence programming. Like, maybe that's a good thing. I just can't say definitively because I don't know about this case. Like, he should also have jail time. It just doesn't seem like it's a bad idea to start educating people about, hey, these are what healthy relationships look like, right? And they always say people who grew up in, I don't know anything about this person, but like if you only see dysfunctional relationships, you're more likely to seek them out because they seem normal.
Right.
And that's really what you would want society to invest in stopping.
I had a hard time buying into all this when I saw like the video. It's actually comical when you see the video where he gets out of the cab and he's running away and she's chasing after him. And I'm just picturing Mario music playing as he's running away.
How do you get to that point?
It's like, and I don't know how TMZ does this, but they've literally stitched together like different security cameras from New York City of him running, trying to get away from her.
My goodness.
And you just wonder, like, it's hard for a lot of people to be like, how bad could it be if she's chasing after him? And you just never know. So,
well, I think it's like frogs in a boiling pot, right?
Yeah.
Like neither of them realized how bad it had gotten. And to your point, Hannah Claire, and I feel like we've talked about this on the show before, seeking out relationships just like out in the wild is a fairly new thing. And people really don't have any idea what they're doing.
No.
So maybe...
What do you mean?
I mean, before it was like... Not to say like arranged marriages or anything like that, but a lot of times you could only meet people that
were connected to you socially somehow.
Like through mutual friends or through your neighborhood or your parents or your family or whatever.
There was connection there even before there was connection.
It was a much more closed society and less mobile, right? You couldn't just like pick up and move to a new city.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they were vetted.
You couldn't just chase him down the streets of New York City. We were less mobile.
Right. Or I think about this with like dating apps. Like you could match with anybody on a dating app, and you don't
they
have
could be
to,
insane.
They could be insane. Have you ever seen that video where the girl's like, I'm on Tinder swiping around, and then she moves her phone and it's a wanted list from her area because the guy is wanted for like aggravated stalking.
Oh my god.
Right. Like it's full of like get set up by your friends. Meet people in real life who have some kind of connection to you because it's just safer that way.
It is safer that way.
Not that it like guarantees you could meet a psycho that way too.
No, definitely for sure. And I think another point is that these people are vetted, and if someone is like acting erratically, before they would kind of be rejected from a community or a society, whereas now you could meet a stalker on Tinder unknowingly and start a relationship with that person.
Right.
So yeah, people...
And you don't have anyone in your ear to be like, hey, actually that guy went out with my friend and he was kind of aggressive, like just be careful, right? Like we don't know these people, they're all strangers.
Yeah, so maybe that should be part of his like rehabilitation.
Do you ladies take that advice from your friends anyway, or do you just think they're out to sabotage? Like, you just don't want me to fall in love.
Oh, I take it seriously for
want
sure.
it for yourself.
Just like, it depends on the friends though, right? Like if your friends aren't if my friend had never met anyone I was dating because we lived in like different states, it would be hard. On the other hand, like if a friend came to me with serious concerns about someone I was dating, especially a long-term good friend, I would definitely take it seriously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think you should.
All right. Let's go and do some super chats then. We got one here from Shane H. Wilder, right up here at the top. Let me get it. There we are. Shane H. Wilder says, "Happy Monday, Brett, Hannah, Claire, and Sarah. Hopefully Mary's top secret mission is going well. On a side note, my secret Timcast project is halfway done. I must wait 2 weeks to finish it." I wonder why that is. Why one must wait 2 weeks to finish it? Must be waiting for more stuff to get done. And thank you, Shane. Andrew Jacob says, "Claire Squared starring HCB and Olivia Wen." Claire Squared would be a great name for a show.
It's just so funny to me because it's her last name, right?
No.
It's her middle name?
It's her middle name.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I personally don't see the resemblance. Everybody else sees the resemblance.
I swear it's just because we have the same name.
It totally is.
I don't see it, but that's just me. Big Dave sent 99 cents without a message. Thank you. Quite Black-pilled says, "Fast and the Furious update, HCB."
Yeah, it's not good, team. I don't know what to tell you.
Leave Hannah and Claire alone.
The thing is, the streaming services and watching them.
Yeah.
There was a time I started, was it 7? And I just immediately fell asleep. So
But that was the one that Paul Walker.
One time Tim was like, "We'll have a party and on Friday we'll just play them all." And I had to like go to a wedding or something that weekend.
Yeah.
A wedding. That's all. That's
Sorry, I have a life, Brett.
And a full-time job, and she has to feed herself, and like, come on. Who's got time for that?
To be fair, I've threatened with making Olivia watch them.
Oh man,
I've threatened that. It's like, look, we're gonna watch them one time.
You know, I think it's worth trying to learn new things. I just think 10 is a lot. I don't think anyone really understood the challenge they were giving me.
10 is a lot. That's a fair point. All right. Let's go ahead and let's move on. We'll come back to the super chats, guys. Let's move on here. So. This came out on Friday, and this was actually really, really big news leading into WrestleMania weekend. The Rock is being turned on and is essentially facing what would be called cancellation because he's refused to endorse Joe Biden and basically calls out the division in the culture right now, and he even uses the term woke, which made me laugh. I love it when boomers use these words. The Rock turns on Joe Biden and refuses to endorse him for president. This is from Indy 100. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has explosively turned his back on U.S. President Joe Biden ahead of the 2024 election, having endorsed the Democrat in 2020. He went on Fox and Friends, which is already makes you kind of a heretic to them. Because it's not like you're just on a local news station. You're on like basically the 5, which is looked down upon from people, especially if you're a liberal, right? So he says, "I will keep my," they asked him about it. He says, "The 51-year-old told Fox and Friends, the endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at the time. I realize now going into this election, I will not do that. My goal is to bring this country together. I will keep my politics to myself. It's between me and the ballot box. Like a lot of us out there not trusting of all politicians, I do trust the American people, and whoever they vote for is my president, and I will support that 100%. Thoughts?
Thank goodness. I'm tired of celebrities talking about politics.
Honestly, like I saw people on both sides of this. I said, yeah, like I love the idea of just leave it at the ballot box. And we could get into the weeds about elections and all this stuff. But there was a time where even if you disagreed with the politician, you kind of supported them as your guy. Now, there are a million reasons not to like what's going on in the White House right now. And I understand wholeheartedly that to most people who are really into politics, that this is just a no-go. You're not going to support the dude. I get it. But when it comes to celebrities, making as little of a mark as possible in politics, I think is a good way forward, especially for their own self-interest, right? For your own branding. He is in a unique position where he both caters to the liberals of the world through his Hollywood movies and television, but also he's in wrestling, which inherently used to have a very, very right-leaning bend to it. And now he's launching the UFL, which is a mixture of the XFL and the USFL, 2 football leagues, and I saw Jack Posobiec basically say he needs MAGA people for that, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't see this as a bad thing. And I understand that a lot of people don't like it because they think that he's wishy-washy. He is. He's a mouthpiece for a lot of things. He's probably still every bit as much the old school leftist or liberal, whatever, will support those policies. but I can always endorse somebody just staying out of it.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I don't buy it at all.
No.
But I hope this is the beginning of a new era where Hollywood and politics can part ways once again.
Yeah.
And we can maybe even get like good content in the future out of this.
Right. I think it's sort of hard because how politicized Hollywood has gotten, it strips any creativity or any nuance from art and film or anything that come out of there. And so having this stance of being like, I'm just gonna keep it to myself and I'm gonna do other things, like, you're right, maybe it's because he's promoting a different business, he doesn't want to isolate voters.
That's fine.
But also good. It's good enough.
Yes.
The only people who really lose from this are the Biden campaign. And I think that's why you saw a couple, there were a lot of headlines saying like Taylor Swift's about to announce Joe Biden, or Joe Biden made some joke about it and she hasn't said anything. And again, if she doesn't make a public endorsement this year, I think it's another example of people who are famous starting to be like, I don't actually want to be involved in this conversation. You guys are all bad and let's just step out of it. Because I think they're aware, because they are tied to the way Americans spend, that people are exhausted. They don't want to talk about politics all the time. I mean, like, I do this for a living and I also am tired of it, you know? I want to talk about something else. You just can't get away from it. And I think the best thing you could do if you're a famous person trying to market something is to remove yourself from politics. Give someone a respite.
What I think a lot of them have realized is that entering a conversation at all is a trap. It's a trap because the moment you get brought into it, they get to shape the direction of the conversation through the media outlets, how they frame your post or your topic about this. If you look at the way the mainstream media is talking about this, they took him to task for it. All of the mainstream outlets that usually would champion Dwayne Johnson took him to task for it because they refuse to accept that there's somebody who's not even endorsing the opposite candidate. He just doesn't want to get involved. And the best thing you can do is not, like, the best thing he could have done is just not talk about it at all. By saying that, by talking about not talking about it at all, he actually shot himself in the foot a little bit, because now he's made the conversation public. The best thing you could do would have just been to not endorse anyone, like what Taylor Swift is doing. I mean, maybe she will down the line. But not talk about it till then. You can't hold not talking about something against someone as easily as you can somebody actively saying that they're not going to get involved. Right? Like, it's very easy when somebody says, I'm going to stay out of it. You can get dragged into that then. They can. You've structured the conversation. They can form any narrative they want to around that. By not talking about it, somebody can certainly write an article and say, why hasn't so-and-so spoken up about this issue? And that might work for a little bit, but it doesn't have the stay. It doesn't have the grip that it does if you've entered the conversation yourself.
Yeah. I think the culture of demanding, people, how they feel and what positions they have, and, all of these things is sort of dying away. Again, it's happening. You're totally right to point this out, that mainstream media gave him a hard time, but I don't think anybody who likes him as an actor or as a wrestler was like, well, how could you do this to me and not tell me your political opinion? Like, they're probably happy about it.
And I wonder, was he asked directly?
Yes, he was. By Fox and Friends.
Which I feel like is inappropriate. There used to be a time where that would be inappropriate and his answer would be completely normal. But the fact that not endorsing Biden or saying he's neutral is the same thing as like endorsing Trump is a very new 2024 thing.
Just by going on Fox, he's going to be labeled.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, it's right even down to the news outlets you associate with.
Which, again, to your point, maybe he's just flirting with sort of right-wing sports fans to try and get support for another project. A little grifty, not the end of the world. It's not that crazy to me. I just think this should be the bar for as many actors as possible, or as many creators as possible.
So he added, am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, the answer is no. I do. He goes, do I believe that we are going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy and I believe we can get better. Quote, I thought back then when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence and it's my job, then I felt like that then it's my job now to exercise my influence and share with. No, it's not.
We have a $20 super chat.
Oh, go for it.
What? Boosted Yogi?
Boosted Yogi.
Boosted Yogi. Why can't I read today? Dwayne is just saving the surprise for the next WrestleMania. His tag team partner will be his endorsement.
Unfortunately, the election
Please tell me he's bringing Joe Biden as his partner to WrestleMania.
Sadly, WrestleMania was over the weekend and he did not have Joe Biden as a tag team partner.
Missed opportunity.
RFK Jr. as his WrestleMania partner.
RFK is buff enough. He can
I'm telling you, it would be amazing.
I had so much fun watching I kept up with WrestleMania over the weekend with updates, but the main event at WrestleMania was so much fun this weekend, and it looked like The Rock was having a whole bunch.
Have you been to a live WrestleMania event?
No, I couldn't afford that. That's super. WrestleMania is
really-
once a year.
Guys,
Super.
okay.
you have to
It's like a
get
Super
Brett
Bowl.
to WrestleMania. This is the give, send,
start
go
the
we
fun.
need.
Yeah, like it's worth it enough just for these hideous pants that he's wearing. They're these weird like silk bell bottoms, and it's like only The Rock could think that those look good. It's awesome.
How much is a ticket to WrestleMania?
I don't. We could look it up online, but it's not in my price range. When you
Yeah,
count
yeah.
travel, hotel, it's just wouldn't be able to afford it. It's just, and he's also
What if they brought you as like an influencer?
Oh my gosh.
What if you
I'm
did
not
Pop
an
Culture Crisis live from WrestleMania? I'm sorry.
that would be hilarious.
This is what I want.
One of the things I love about wrestling is that it's such an insulated environment, meaning that I follow wrestling podcasts, and it's just such a world unto itself that I kind of escape general pop culture by going in and watching the podcasts that talk just about wrestling, because it's an escape from what's going on in the real world. Logan Paul, like, I kid you not, he like retained the US title at WrestleMania last night. He's a legit wrestler. He can actually wrestle really, really good. But unless you actually watch wrestling, you wouldn't know that he's doing that
Right.
for the most part, right? It's awesome. It's awesome. And like what The Rock is doing right now, he is attempting to play both sides, but I think that also speaks to our polarized kind of, we're all kind of hurt by politics feel, right? Like back in the day, somebody taking the stance wouldn't have been seen as anything wild.
Right.
Wouldn't have been newsworthy.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. And I liked it. Like it was like, what was the Michael Jordan quote? Republicans buy sneakers too. So I didn't talk about his politics. I think that quote was, somebody said that was misquoted. I might be wrong about that, but
That's too bad if it is. It's a good
And
quote.
look, The Rock is absolutely a Hollywood mouthpiece. He's absolutely one of those people who's just kind of bleh. He's whatever the industry needs him to be. But I'd rather he be bleh and not endorse anyone and just leave it be. Because the moment they do, I just don't care anymore. Like, I like these industries to feel as separate as possible. The more an actor stays away from it, the more I tend to enjoy their work.
Because it's supposed to be an escape, as you said.
Like, I pretty easy. Like, I don't know if you guys have this issue, but like when we watch movies and television, I don't really have a hard time separating art from artist. It's fairly easy for me to be like, look, I get caught up in the moment in a movie so easily that it's like I forget that what I'm looking at is a person who said a whole bunch of crazy shit, right? That doesn't bother me. But a lot of people, their memories are longer, and then it bothers them when they see these people who have said these things that suck. Like, I don't have that problem.
And I think
Me
it
neither.
bleeds into the art, though. That's what the problem is for me right now.
I see those
you
as
can't
separate
see
issues.
anything as being. Yeah, but then you get these like activist actresses who are like, I'm really glad that I could be in this movie to change the narrative
Yes.
about whatever, and I sort of just want to be like, please leave me alone. And I can do that because I don't have to click on your content. I don't have to stream it. I don't have to buy a ticket to your movie. And I think having someone who's neutral and again, just cultivating critical thinking among the audience, letting the message be subtle enough where you're allowed to interpret it on your own. Have that, like, if you go to the movies and if we all went somewhere, watched something, and I was like, oh, I thought that scene was really cool because it was like a reflection of this. And Sarah was like, oh no, I took this from that. Like, that's why I want to go to movies. And that's just not the way movies have been for a very long time.
I do prefer it when a director or a writer leaves it open to interpretation, right? There's this the person who created The Boys famously does not like that MAGA people like that show because he doesn't want you to interpret it that way. He wants you to interpret it the way he wants it interpreted, which is anti-art to me. Like, the whole point should be like, you put it out there for everyone to perceive, and then however they take it is how they take it.
Right.
And there's something beautiful about that to me. Like, there's
right.
something I love about that I think is the point of art that a lot of people don't get.
Absolutely. Same thing with books. It used to bother me in like high school when our English teachers would be like, okay, what's the theme of this book? And there would be one correct answer or maybe a couple correct answers. Whereas I feel like the author, when they write a book or they make a movie or whatever it is, it's kind of the whole idea of art is that it's open to interpretation.
Right.
There's not a right answer as to what you took from this piece of art.
Unless the class is taught by the author I was specifically trying to get this theme out there. Like, you're just interpreting it too, as far as I can tell.
Right.
And that's where I can watch a movie where you have an actor or an actress who's very political, right? I can do it. It's fine.
I can watch all
but
the
I
Captain
also,
America movies knowing Chris Evans is a super lib, and it doesn't bother me.
It wouldn't
See, I
bother
didn't
me.
even know that.
On the other hand, with some movies, the only reason this person took the role is to promote their prowess among their, like, when politics becomes kind of like social currency.
Yeah.
And that it's just, I don't want to be a part of it at all. I don't like it, and you're exhausting to me. But again, I follow the news for a living, so maybe I'm more prone to that kind of burnout, and not everyone is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's and we'll wait and see if he. Maybe that's good for him, but I imagine that more celebrities will end up with their endorsements closer to election time. But does it?
I think at the
let me
DNC, which is in August, I think you'll see a lot of people suddenly come out and be like, yes, I'm on board. But again, Joe Biden's not super popular, so I think you will see fewer celebrity endorsements this time around. That's my prediction. At least.
I'd say you're more plugged in than me in this stuff. Do you think that moves the needle? Do you think those endorsements actually work?
I don't know that they change minds so intensely. I think it's more celebrity endorsements. I think are more about the get out the vote effort among young people. I think it's sort of to make politics cool and make it so you remember that it's happening and that you go to the polls. I don't know that anyone is like, oh well, if Captain America says he's voting for Joe Biden, I will vote for him. Like that person was probably already going to vote that way, but they might remember, oh yeah, it's coming up. I need to be more serious about it.
I don't even like the go out and vote neutral videos. I saw Rhaegar Targaryen says, are you ready for the get out and vote videos? I hate those too.
Stop telling Brett what to do.
I don't want to go.
He will not be voting.
Was he going to go?
What if I don't want to go and vote? Huh? Did you ever think of that?
Everyone is just like oppositional defiance. No.
It's like, we go and vote. Like, well, now that you say so, I don't think I will.
Have you seen that advertisement for the Bible app that's kind of viral? And it's on the subway. I think it's in London. And it's like 0 out of 5 stars, would not recommend Satan. Like he's like against it. Like that's what you guys need. It's like don't go to the polls, and you're like, well, maybe I will.
Maybe I will go now.
Why don't you want me to go?
If Chris Evans was like, don't go out and vote, maybe like, you know what? I think I will go out and vote. Screw you.
He's like, stay home, and you're like, no.
That's what they should be doing.
That's what they should have done.
That's how they could have handled COVID. Yep. Exactly. Right there with you.
All right, so let's go to some super chats and let me see if I can find them this time around, guys. Again, we're going to do our best to stay on track here with the super chats as we go through. Greg Duvier says, must be big Taylor Swift news because we all know that this is the only pop culture thing Hannah Claire knows anything about. She knows about all sorts of stuff. She would oftentimes send me regular articles about things that I like. The YouTube thing that you sent me, like we just said.
Oh yeah, I used to because one of the things is I just look at the news all day long, like looking for articles. So I did. You guys have to remember, I've been with pop culture for a long time, even though I've been absent for a couple months. Like there was a time when I was on before you were live, we would record together twice a week, and I would send articles or like just because. You know, I know you guys have a lot on your plate, so whenever I backed off, in more recent months because I didn't want to just like be annoying and be like, I'm not here, but talk about this.
What I like about it was like, so the hardest part for me was like, there's a certain way to know when you're reading an article, like what the hook will be, like how you're going to post this, like what's the thumbnail gonna say, what's the text gonna say. So the better thing to do is like send somebody the story and then the pitch for like, okay, what is the hook of this story? So when you explain to me what was going on with the YouTuber, you're like, okay, dating and modern, like there's a hook to that might not be readily apparent. A lot of stories, like the story about The Rock not endorsing Joe Biden, that hook is self-explanatory. You understand what it is before you even look at it. Yeah. Some stories, and one thing that Mary is really good at doing is finding stuff and then saying like, okay, this is the hook for this, even if there isn't necessarily really a story in the thumbnail or a story in the title. Like you have to actually look for it by engaging with the material, and that's not always readily apparent when it's stuff other than main headlines. Like Jonathan Majors not going to jail, that makes perfect sense. You understand what the hook for that is. And sometimes you just have to search for it. That's just the way it is. All right. Thank you, Greg. But that was very mean to Hannah Claire. I want you to apologize now.
Look, that would be cool if I was like your Taylor Swift correspondent and I just like bust down the door and I'm like, hey guys, an update. We go live to you down like in your office downstairs and you're like this. You're like, yeah guys, I got an update for you.
Breaking Taylor Swift news.
No, it would be funny. I mean, we could, the thing is, I know about Taylor Swift. That is the part of pop culture. I also know about Gilmore Girls. Like just some like really white girl basic stuff is sort of where I live and I feel comfortable. But I would be afraid. Like you guys should have someone who's super into all the Taylor Swift stuff on the show because that's too much for me. I can't keep up.
I'm just going to go. This one's not a super chat, but Hanamaji says, Brett, what did you think of Undertaker coming out? Also, you guys should talk to Tim about doing a PCC for Mania. What I thought was, if I'm being completely honest, when I saw The Undertaker come out, it seemed very clear to me that was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they couldn't get a deal with him to actually, they couldn't pay him enough to come and show up.
So they ripped him off.
So they put the Undertaker in that spot instead, but it was still, the Undertaker has more history with Roman Reigns, so it actually made more sense. But it felt like that scene was designed for Stone Cold's glass shattering music and not the Undertaker's gong that goes off when he's live. So that's what I thought about it. I think the best thing about wrestling, honestly, in the last year or two, and I made a tweet about this last night, is Samantha Irvin, who's the new ring announcer, who's just ridiculously good at her job. Like there's whole compilations of her announcing winners, and she can literally make you feel goosebumps even if you know nothing about what you're watching. It's she's unbelievable.
That would be
at her
great
job.
for me because I don't know anything about it apart from what you post.
Yeah, the stuff, the random stuff that I post.
So
yeah.
we are doing Pop Culture Crisis from WrestleMania.
Let's do it.
Was that
I think so.
confirmation?
Yeah, 2025.
Is this what the kids call manifestation?
Yes. All right. DCNC says, everyone send your favorite crappy firework vids to Brett. I heard he loves them. Look, I'm not saying I want them sent to me, but if they do appear in my timeline, I look at it and say, that's nice.
But you know how to guarantee he sees them? By tagging him in them repeatedly.
That's a
over and over
horrible
again,
idea.
every day.
It's a horrible idea.
Just make sure it's multiple times, and also that you follow up, maybe message him.
Why is everyone doing this to me?
Email
This is so
the
rude.
Pop Culture Crisis email.
Guys, we are halfway to a second crisis party. Just giving an update.
But that's propaganda from you because there's no crisis meter. How would I know
we
that?
just have to take your word
You
for
have
it.
to-
every
Guys,
time.
we're
You're gonna
one
have
super
to
chat
take-
away from a crisis party.
I
I
have
heard.
to, well, yeah, if there was a $50 super chat to come in right now, it would trigger a second crisis
Word
party.
on the
Okay.
street is that it's actually a 10-cent super chat that'll tip us over the edge.
DCNC is, no, I'm sorry. Shane H. Wilder says, we all know that Marion Taylor are in Cali to infiltrate leftist headquarters, Mission Impossible style. Could be. I don't know what leftist headquarters is. Is there like a building that says leftist?
It's like very tall and
Yes.
like evil, and there's like a storm, a lightning storm at the top.
A shot that's like really low from the bottom, like from street level all the way to the top of the building. Yeah, and like just a big bolt of lightning hits the top of it. Did you see the photos of the lightning hitting the Statue of Liberty?
Oh.
That was eerie looking.
When
It
was
was
that?
actually kind of cool looking, but
Oh, guys, things are seeming
So
a
much
little,
going on.
stressful right
Solar
now.
eclipse.
all right, let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back. Let us move on. I want to talk about Bob Iger for a bit, ladies and gentlemen. So Bob Iger is still the head of Disney over there after warding off Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo at the investor meeting. They were looking for board seats, and he had to rally the board to keep them from getting seats so that he can continue to push Disney in the direction that he wants. And now he's gaslighting everybody by saying that, look, I don't even know. I don't think you people know what the term woke even means. Disney's not woke. Again, I hate that word because of the ambiguous nature of it. And I still believe that anybody who tells you they know the exact definition ignores the fact that you could ask 10,000 different people and get 10,000 different definitions about what that word actually means. But pretending like Disney hasn't fallen to the idea of what does Tim always use as his definition for this? He says rigid adherence to leftist orthodoxy, I think is how he describes it. And that's in very many ways exactly what Disney is. So Disney CEO Bob Iger says Disney isn't woke, but is it true, or is he gaslighting his audience? This is what he said. I'll go through the article. He says, it says, the term woke is thrown around rather liberally, no pun intended in that regard. I think a lot of people don't even understand what that really means. Do you actually believe that that's true? Do you think that they don't know what it means, or that they just all have a amalgamation of different criteria and it all fits in the same box?
I'm not sure that there's as much as a distinction between those two
Yeah.
sets. I really did way back in the day hear left people using the term woke as like
it
an
was actually a term.
aspirational way to be, and it has just been completely dropped and co-opted by right-wing conservative people as a pejorative term, right? Like you don't want to be woke.
Totally.
Woke is sort of like deranged. I don't. Does that answer your question? I got lost for a second.
This is really funny. This article gives you the dictionary definitions of this word. So, according to Merriam-Webster, the term woke means to, quote, be aware of and actively attentive to important societal factors and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. Dictionary.com defines woke as having or marked by an active awareness of systemic injustices and prejudices, especially those involving the treatment of ethnic, racial, and sexual minorities. By that definition, Disney is actively doing this because they have the Reimagine Tomorrow project back in 2020, which talked about raising the standards for inclusivity. What else is that but a proper definition of that word. You could also use the example of race and gender swaps for characters, especially characters like Ariel in The Little Mermaid, things like that. That falls under that definition, but it's the gaslighting that annoys me. It's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy.
Look, I just can't believe Bob Iger's even bringing up that word.
I know.
Why would he do that? Just never say the word. Don't say woke. Don't say awake. If he gets asked of you, dodge and switch to something else. Don't go more into it. Disney talking about this cannot help Disney. They just dig themselves further into a hole. There's no justifying it. They need to put as much distance. I mean, I don't think they want to is the thing. I think they ultimately want to embrace this ideology and they like it. But if you were really trying to like steer the ship on this sort of PR crisis that you've created over the last couple of years, you would never say anything even close to the word woke.
Mm-hmm. And in another example of how you can perfectly define that they know exactly what they're doing is they waited until after the board voted and they kept their seats and they were able to ward off these activist investors to announce that they're going to use a gender swapped Silver Surfer that everybody understands is being done on purpose, because when you create a new group of characters or you bring in these famous classic characters and three of them you cast the original, or the four originals, you cast the original versions of them, but then you take one and you cast an obscure one that was only used in like 3 or 4 issues, however long ago. Everyone knows that the reason you're doing that is for political expediency. Mm-hmm. You're not doing that because you have a deep connection to Shalbal. You're doing it because you don't want to use Nor and Rad because you don't want to use a dude. Mm-hmm. Okay? That perfectly defines what they're going through. They made however many films last year, and all of them except for Guardians of the Galaxy lost money. And whether you like it or not, whether the films were or not, I would argue that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was, they lost money because people perceived them as woke. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And most, and a lot of them were. Wish was. Indiana Jones 5 was. The Little Mermaid was. And the funny thing is, I didn't even, like, other than the casting of The Little Mermaid, I thought the movie was just kind of meh on its own. Not because of the messaging, but just because of the movie is meh on its own. Uh-huh. But if all your films are losing money and the conversation is continuously going this direction, no matter how much you try to ignore it, you're kind of right. Bringing it up at all is a net negative for them.
He shouldn't even say the word awake. He shouldn't say woke, broke, smoke. Like, he should stay away from all of it.
I'm wide not asleep right now. Yeah. Just completely take it out of your vocab.
Just take it out. Anything that's not, because there is absolutely no soundbite of Bob Iger talking about wokeism or, woke at all that could ever work in Disney's favor, because it's such an emotionally charged issue at this point. He would have to be like, you're right, we were bad for embracing woke culture, and then even then people would be like, see, he admitted they did it, and he's a terrible person. Like, they should just not address it. Again, not that I support Disney, not that I think that they do the right things for culture, just I didn't understand where his PR handlers are.
So he says, he continued saying, excuse me, I think the noise has sort of quieted down. No, it hasn't. Sorry, buddy.
Especially not when you bring it up. Come on, dummy.
No, you're wrong. I've been preaching this for a long time at the company before I left, and since I came back, that our number one goal is to entertain. No, it isn't. Not in a very long time. It has not been. The bottom line is that infusing messaging as a sort of number one priority in our films and TV shows is not what we're up to. When you race swap classic characters, that means that it was very much your number one priority because it was one of the first things you did.
Right.
Before you even got to making the movie. The casting decision means that it was that
and
already.
It's the common thread between all these movies.
Yes. And now there's all this discussion about they're going to possibly race swap Rapunzel, which I think we'll talk about tomorrow. I have to look through all this stuff. It's really funny. I was talking about this. I'm like, I know nothing about Rapunzel, so I have to look into this. But Rapunzel's German, right?
A dope fairy tale.
Is it?
Highly recommend. Yeah. I like Tangled. I thought that was a cute interpretation of it. I wish Disney would stop and leave it alone.
She says, but generally speaking, we need to be an entertainment first company and understanding that, look, we are trying to reach a very, very diverse audience. He's answering he's proving himself wrong just by the things he's saying. He says, look, the problem is bringing it up. Say, we want to reach everyone, but even that word is a sore spot for people now. There's certain words that are just going to rub people the wrong way.
Reach or
diverse.
Oh, diverse.
Diverse is just gonna rub people the wrong way because it's infused with a whole bunch of political agenda because it's connected to things like DEI. And now when people hear those words, they don't think of what it actually means. They think about the political motives behind it. You know what I mean? Like when certain words get used now, it doesn't even connect with you what it actually means. All that it connects with you is what it's being used for.
Right.
Right? Like when you hear the word inclusion, you don't actually think of somebody being included in something. You think of political operatives using it as a cudgel, as a weapon to it's politically charged. This is why I always talk about my hatred of buzzwords, right? It's like you could work your way around this stuff with really crafty writing, but it would take a lot of work to get away from all of this language.
Right.
That's very, very hard to do. But his job is to talk. So he would have to be self-aware enough to know that these words are a problem and then ask his speechwriters, I'm assuming he doesn't sit there and write these speeches himself, and get people to find language that is less politically charged. But even then, people are so hesitant to buy into any of this that I don't think it would work. You know? Like, I can't think of any company that is actually, like, Universal right now is probably the blueprint for as close to what you want for a company that's just putting out entertainment. Now, they do put out some stuff that ends up being politically charged, but for the most part, they're not known for it, right? It really is a fault of Disney to be a company that's doing this.
Is Disney putting out any other content that isn't riddled with wokeness? And we don't see it, or we're not paying attention to it?
I mean, so a fair amount of like their 20th Century Fox productions might not be, it's not as noticeable. It's more noticeable in the Pixar, the Lucasfilm, and the Disney stuff, right? But they own and run 20th Century and Searchlight, and you'll get more like think piece movies, which are more art house. They made a movie called The Creator last year, which I really, really liked, which... according to Wesley, was communist propaganda. I didn't take it that way, but the point is that we looked at it and saw different things. Therefore, it's not as blatant. Right? Yeah. So, but then the problem is like, you should be looking for that type of goal with all your entertainment. All of it should be able to give people different opinions on various projects. And all your movies should have me and Wesley arguing about whether it's this or whether it's that.
Yeah, and it should be left at you don't know who's right or who's wrong.
Yeah.
That's how loose and ambiguous it should be. If not, then it is too pointed, and it is, in this case, woke, or whatever it may be.
What is the stuff about ESG being changed to bridge? Do you know what's going on with that?
No.
So I heard that term the other day. I saw somebody in the chat just mentioned it. Dustin in the Wind says ESG changed its name to Bridge. So they're just going to change the acronyms
of course.
to mean different things. It's the war on language as per usual. That's always going on.
Well, when a term becomes toxic, they ditch it and start with something else, right?
What's the last Disney movie you actually liked?
Oh my gosh.
From like when you were a kid?
Was Tangled a Disney movie?
Yeah, Tangled was a Disney
Tangled was
movie.
good.
I liked Tangled, and that came out. That was like a more recent, not really recent, but
I don't even like watch Disney movies anymore.
either. I don't think I watch any Disney content regularly. I don't really watch anything regularly, but like
The Mandalorian first season, not a movie, but I enjoyed that thoroughly.
I think a lot of people, and that's what I thought was funny about that is like, that was a perfect example of like how easy it would be to win back your audience if you just did your job.
Just
like,
one not
everybody
bad.
everybody was after The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi and then The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody just hated Star Wars and wanted nothing to do with it. They released one like kind of good season of a show and everyone's like, oh, you know what? It can't be that bad. Like I'm back on board, right?
Yeah,
it's like an abusive relationship. Like they treat you so badly and then it gets like slightly better and you're like, maybe.
Right? I wonder if I were to watch it again, if I'd be like, this isn't that good.
I
It's
say, no, I
just not
say
terrible.
I say the same thing about Star Wars. I say the same thing about Star Trek. It is basically like an abusive relationship where everyone's like, I'll give it another shot. And I'm like, don't do it. Just cut the cord, my friend.
But they let me sleep inside the house this time.
That's perfect. That's good. Oh yeah, somebody mentioned Andor. Look, a lot of people loved Andor too, but the problem is like the goodwill is gone. And not enough people watched it nor care anymore for all this stuff. And what I just saw the other day, I think that Park Place mentioned that the Rey movie is back off the docket at Star Wars and everything's getting booked out and they can't get away from these issues. And the problem is Bob Iger's contract runs through 2026. He's going to have to start getting his replacement ready that's a pretty big process, right? Like succession as like a CEO for a company of that size. And any person they put in charge is going to be subject to the same level of scrutiny. And every decision that they make is going to be looked at with the same skepticism. So, all right, let's go and do some super chats. We got some more here. I got, where did I leave off? I left off at... DC and C. Again, I apologize, guys, for trying to get back on track here. DC and C says, there it is. HCB, why has it been so long between drinks on PCC? Were you too nice? Were we too nice to you last time? We need to be more mean? Okay.
Well, that's a weird interpretation. No, I mean, the thing is, just as our company grew, I got busier.
She's busy.
And,
she's too important for us. It's
well, and like it was
lady.
when, again, like I said, when I started in the pre-recording era, I was doing it twice a week. We moved to live because I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a writer for scnr.com. Formerly, I was with Timcast News before, and then that closed, and they moved us all over to Scanner. And you know that takes a, you know, that's my Tim said the other night, like, that's your full-time job, and then you do IRL part-time, and then it's difficult to balance everything else.
And then PCC part-time.
Yeah, I mean, it really just came down to a level of like, you know, what am I pursuing? And you know, Brett and Mary are a team here, so they don't necessarily, I felt like they didn't need me to stay for it to be successful, and that's really a credit to the audience here, right? Like, they are devoted to y'all's success and the personalities you bring to the show, so it made it easier to sort of start, you know, shifting back to focusing on news. But I'm always happy to see Brett. I'm always happy to join. I'm sorry if it's been a long time. And again, like, you guys are great, and I appreciate all the support and all the encouragement whenever I'm on.
So there's your answer, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, she's been kind enough to help me tomorrow too, while Mary is out of town. You know, changing the world, doing whatever it is she's doing with her super secret project. Shane H. Wilder says, Pretty Little Liars is on point. Look, it's like, what it is it's like fast food television. It literally makes no sense. It doesn't. I also love how every girl dresses like no high school girl in the world ever dressed like that to go to school.
That's how every show is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
Like-
single show.
Like, they all dress up and are like in full like, I know, like, when I went to school, all the girls wore their jeans and their hoodie, and because I'm older, the jeans were baggy, you know, they were like bell bottom, and their pants would be like soaking wet from walking through grass. That's
and
what
no
actual school
fun
is like.
stalker blackmail situation happening at your high school. It only happens at fancy high schools where girls
they
have
actually-
perfect makeup.
Could they actually do that story with what's the guy, the teacher's Ezra? Could they do that story now with the
Oh
high
my
school?
goodness, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like he's like a high school teacher who's dating like a student. I don't think they could do that now.
It's highly romanticized.
And they end up together.
Yeah.
Which is like the craziest thing.
It's very romanticized. It really is. It's not
Yeah.
shown to be creepy at all.
There's like
But it's
nothing wrong
weird.
with it. It's just like taboo, and like, which makes it even more like, I don't know.
Okay, Shane H. Welder also says, okay, this is the only time I get to tell this story. There is a vasectomy doctor in my area that runs ads. His name is literally Dick Chop.
No.
Let's go.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe that either.
I hope he actually changed his name.
Tweet
to
a
that.
picture of that billboard or advertisement at Brett, and we'll all weigh in on this.
Rhaegar Targaryen says, does Pretty Little Liars have good fight scenes? No, I don't think so. The Mona character is kind of nuts and like almost drives the one character off a cliff though.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her.
Mona. Also, like so the girl, like Troian Belisario from that show, I don't remember her character's name, but she's the daughter of what's his name? Donald Belisario, who's like he created like JAG and NC.
She's married to that guy
Patrick J.
from
Adams
Suits. Yeah.
from Suits. Yep, it's
Which character is she? Is she the bad girl?
She's
bad
like the
guy?
preppy one.
Oh, Hannah, the blonde one.
No, she's like the overachiever who has the dark hair.
Oh, okay.
I always forget that character's name.
Okay, I know that. Yeah, I remember. They were all so beautiful.
So yeah, she's
Unrealistic.
like, she's kind of the definition of a
Ridiculously
nepo baby. So the funny thing is, like, on that show, but then on NCIS, Sean Murray plays a main character who's actually the stepson of Donald Belisario,
And she does a cameo as
his sister.
Yeah.
It's also incestuous. The whole industry, like, but that's the thing. I love it. It's like, oh, they're good at their job. I don't care if they're, let the
All
nepo
related
babies,
somehow.
It is what it is.
Who cares?
One more here. Superpowers says, well, that was magical. Back to PCC. I'm assuming they're talking about the eclipse. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Is it
By the
okay?
way, guys, we are getting closer to that second crisis party.
I
He
heard
won't
that we were
tell us
only
how
$1
close.
away.
I can tell you it's not $1. It's
But how would we know if there's no bar? You know what I'm saying?
it's $35. Yes.
All right.
Allegedly.
45.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Oh, funny how the price just
35.
changed.
Oh, is it
Was that
40 or
inflation?
35?
I don't
It's inflation.
understand.
It's due to inflation. All right, let's move on, guys. Thank you so much for that. Let's talk about patriarchy and superheroes, shall we? So, if you never saw the masterpieces that were Spider-Man 1 and 2 from Sam Raimi, you will know that Kirsten Dunst, of course, played Mary Jane Watson, and she is now coming out talking about the dreadful gender wage gap that went on between her and Tobey Maguire, who, of course, played the titular character of Spider-Man, and that's apparently a form of bigotry. Right? That you were paid less than your co-host. Let's watch this clip. I had the article pulled up, but let's just listen to this clip of her talking about it. Here we go.
Definitely grew up in a time with major pay disparity between the lead actor and myself, even though I had been in Bring It On and he hadn't.
Did you feel that you were in a position that was going to say?
Bring it on.
Well, since you were in
Bring It On, a completely unrelated franchise.
It's like, why is this person being paid more than me?
I was very young and it just felt like the time. What do you do?
Nobody questioned it.
Yeah.
Male executives didn't question it.
I feel like I know where this is going. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, all right then. Okay. Here we go.
And I didn't even think to ask.
All right. So what I find funny about this is so right now, modern female directors are one of the people that are actually pushing for pay equity when it comes to these industries, which I find really, really interesting because I wonder if that's actually going to work. Because if you're somebody who's at the top of your craft, are you actually going to be able to are you going to want to join a project if you know that you're not going to be able to leverage your own success to make more, right?
She couldn't leverage the success of Bring It On, so I mean, it's. Did
you ever see Bring It On?
Oh, of course. I mean, a great movie. I loved that movie. I don't know how famous Tobey Maguire was at the time.
He was not. But the point is, he's still playing the main character.
Yeah, he's the star and she's the co-star.
Yes,
I guess you could say.
Yeah. She should have been paid per scream. So I rewatched the original Spider-Man the other night, and holy crap, the amount of times she screams in that movie. I love it personally, but so I was watching it, and Olivia's like, does she ever stop screaming?
Well, she's the damsel in distress.
I was like, I miss the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Let the lady be rescued once in a while.
Exactly.
That's what's wrong with that? She should have been paid per scream. That would have been perfect. You ever saw Bring It On?
I did see Bring It On. I mean, that's a classic, iconic movie from the late 90s? Early 2000s?
Early 2000s.
Yeah, probably more early 2000s. I mean, she was pretty famous at the time, I guess. Obviously, she was from Jumanji too. But at the end of the day, you're getting paid for the role that you're doing. And this also goes back to the gender wage gap, right? It's women just don't ask for raises as much, or they don't ask for as big of a salary, or they don't work as many hours, which I'm sure on this movie set she didn't, considering she wasn't the star of the movie.
Did you notice the guy said the male executives didn't say anything? It's not their job.
No one
literally,
cares. No one's coming to rescue you.
When you're entering into a business agreement, it is your job to hire an agent to get you the best deal possible. It is not the job of a male executive. His job is to save the studio as much money as possible while getting them the best actor they can get.
Which goes to show you it really is just brainwashing. The idea of the gender age gap or sexism, I'm not saying it doesn't exist at all whatsoever, but to this extent, you can just be convinced to believe something that has no validity.
One thing that I thought was funny was in Man of Steel, from what I understand, Amy Adams made more than Henry Cavill because she was a bigger. Somebody can fact check me on that.
Great
but if I remember correctly, she made more, or at least that was the rumor. So maybe not, but the rumor was that Amy Adams, because she was a bigger name as Lois Lane, made more than Henry Cavill did. Cavill, as the guy, as Rolo said when he was on here. Now I'm gonna start saying that to piss people off. Cavill, that she made more than him. But also, if you look at what happened with Barbie, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling made $12.5 million, and she made $50 million after bonuses, which makes sense because one, she was a producer on the film. That's another way you can increase your payment. But she's the star of the movie. It's not called, even though he might have been the best part of the movie, it's not called Ken, it's called Barbie. Therefore, you would expect her to make more. Makes perfect sense to me. But with more female directors now pushing for this, so Olivia Wilde was doing this. She was pushing for pay equity.
Oh, Olivia Wilde.
I can't imagine you're an actor at the top of your game, and somebody says, I want you to take the same salary as this other person with less credentials. That's fine. Apparently Tobey Maguire had less credentials than she did, than Kirsten Dunst did. Her job is to hire an agent that will then leverage those credentials to get her a better payday.
Exactly. It's like when someone is offered a job and you have to negotiate your pay rate, whether you're a man or a woman. And she can't blame Hollywood and create this idea of there's a giant like sex-based gender or wage gap in Hollywood if she just didn't speak up at the time, or her agent or whoever's job it was.
And it's the job of you as an actor to know your work, especially if you're going into any field that's an independent contractor, you better be like really, really willing to negotiate on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be going from job to job, and you can't, like, how long can you blame sexism until you just have to decide, look, I need to make more money. Like, I can keep blaming the patriarchy, but what I really need is more money. How do I do that?
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, she was Kirsten Dunst of Bring It On fame.
I think it is
to
interesting
negotiate, right?
Yeah, her argument is like it's sexism, and it couldn't have just been I was not as successful as I thought I was, or moving into the Spider-Man, superhero industry. I didn't realize that there was a potential to earn even more.
Yeah.
Right.
And would the movie not have been as successful if Kirsten Dunst hadn't played Mary Jane? Do you think? I don't think it really made a big difference.
That she got her own spin-off, right? She was always second fiddle, as she should have been, because it's about Spider-Man.
Right.
But
so she was reminded that Tobey Maguire was paid $17 million to reprise his role, but according to Dunst, it might have been more actually. Well, it depends on if he negotiated money for residuals, or if he negotiated money based on how it does at the box office. That was a big thing when they released Black Widow, day and date release. Scarlett Johansson ended up suing Disney because a big part of her contract was contingent on the box office returns, and she argued that by releasing it on Disney Plus as well as in theaters, you hindered my ability to meet those contractual requirements to make more money. She did the right thing. She got litigation involved, and she negotiated a better deal for herself.
Okay.
I don't know what's so hard about taking that responsibility on yourself to get yourself the contract you want. Also, Neve Campbell walked away from Scream 6 because they didn't offer her the money she wanted. She said, look, I'm the star of this franchise. I've been here since the first movie. I deserve more. She walked away. And then when Scream 7 came around and they fired Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, they came crawling back to her and gave her the money she wanted so that they could make the 7th film, because they no longer had those fill-ins. You have to be able to not just know how much you're worth, but act on it and not just acquiesce because you feel the pressure to do so. And I think that's where women being naturally less confrontational than men hurts them in the job market.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's lots of male actors that have accepted roles for way less than they're worth too.
It is interesting because it's not like the guy who played Uncle Ben in Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, and Toby got more than I did, even though I was in
what's
whatever.
The aunt's name?
You know what I mean?
Aunt May.
Aunt May.
Aunt May.
I mean, it makes me laugh because the idea that with Hollywood, for some people it is they're coming off this project and so they're a big deal, they get more money, there's more buzz around them, but it's not like a years of experience thing. It's not like other jobs where you're like, oh, well, you have had 5 years of experience in this position, so therefore we automatically assume you're entering in at a higher pay bracket. With Hollywood,
she showed up one day. She goes to Toby. She's like, so how much are you making? He's like, could you tell me what you're making?
Well, and the video that you watched was from recent, right? Like, she only came to this conclusion years and years later, as far as I can tell.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. I remember this story ages ago.
Okay.
This story that I'm reading right now is from April 4th. So it happened like over the week, like before the weekend. But maybe I'm just transposing it with like another similar incident. But I could have swore I heard of this before, and she's like still out here on her kick talking about it, looking for her pay equity that she's never going to get.
Is she very active right now, or is she sort of retired?
She's out there advertising something right now, though I don't remember what it was. But she's in Civil War. That comes out this week. The movie Civil War, the Garland movie. So, and what better way to advertise your movie than to talk about all the ways in which Hollywood has wronged you?
And about how much of a victim you are.
And it's funny too, because I watched back that movie, and it really is. I guess she's good in the movie. She's fine. She does like the kind of innocent, wide-eyed part really, really well. And she really is a classic damsel in distress. But when I look at who should have gotten the second most in that movie, it better have been Willem Dafoe. I almost said William again. I always do that, and then people yell at me.
Was he the Green Goblin?
Yes. So that's, or James Franco. So the way things are in Hollywood, but it is going to be a cudgel that will be used as a weapon forever to be like, I didn't make the money that I felt that I should have made on this. And you're just like, so? Like, argue, like, you're Kirsten Dunst. I've heard of you. That means most other people have heard of you. Argue, like, ask for more. Argue for more.
And it takes away from instances where there is actually sexism and someone is discriminated against for their gender. I wouldn't say that this is one of those instances.
I have to ask this, even though it's kind of a tangent. Kirsten Dunst, is she the one who had to kiss like Brad Pitt when she was a kid?
Yes.
In like the vampire movie? Did you guys ever talk about this?
We never talked about it, but Interview with the Vampire.
We should talk about it all the time because I find that so weird.
Didn't she? Oh yeah, it's super weird. And didn't she talk about
how
Interview with the Vampire?
Yeah,
sure. Something with the vampire. And she was like 11. He was like in his 30s, and they were like, "Anyways, child actress, this is something you have to do." You're gonna be like, "You have to do this?"
Yeah,
this is absolutely.
What is the definition of had?
If she has complaints about Hollywood, I feel like not getting paid as much as the lead of a movie that you were not the lead in is really not where she should start with her litany of issues. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like she has commented on that movie before, and I want to say she said something about the kiss as well as how much she was paid. But I could just
Did she get paid more as an 11-year-old in that movie, and that's why she's mad that as a teenager or a 20 person she was making less?
Making the same amount.
Because I feel like I would be mad at Hollywood for being like, there was no reason that I needed to do this at 11, and you guys made me. Like, that's where I would start with my complaints. But, you know, maybe I don't understand the brunt of not being Spider-Man as much as
and let's face it, to the average person, the I only made $7 million argument's just always gonna fall flat. Like, the average person is gonna be like, well, you know, I have a tiny violin.
Yeah.
I can look for a smaller one, but I'm not entirely sure that I can weep wholeheartedly for you for only making $7 million.
This is maybe not the complaint that you think it is.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
I don't know. I think people will march in the streets for her. Only $7 million.
Oh my
goodness! How can they do this to her?
It's a damn travesty. All right, guys, let's finish up. Let's do some super chats. Guys, let's get a second crisis party. I don't want this to be a one crisis party day with my lovely guests. Where do we leave off here?
We don't even know how many crisis parties we've had.
Oh, we've had. Well, I can tell you how many we've had because I did it.
But where is the counter?
This is just rude. You guys are being so rude right now.
I'm just saying, me and really everyone in the audience we don't know how to be competitive if there's no scoreboard.
That's a fair point. All right, let's. Alfred Larock says, pull it up here. At HC, for the dowry, would Dad prefer gold or silver? Is the custom still the bride's weight, or are we going more modern?
You know,
Black Welsh Mountain Sheep Farm in West Virginia.
I will answer for her on this one. Definitely gold.
Gold? Why gold?
Well, what has a higher value right now, gold or silver?
Gold.
No, I think silver is above gold. Right? I could be wrong. Probably whichever one is more. How's platinum doing?
All right,
keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off as my advocate.
Okay, well, I was going to say gold, and no, because Hannah Claire she's a tiny little lady. So we're going to say at least 3 times her body weight, at least.
Wow. Do they have to does it have to be in bars and they have to bring it in a wheelbarrow?
Yeah, like in a treasure chest.
Oh, a treasure chest that you have to make yourself.
Yeah.
Wait, so at what point does the body weight reach a high enough number that you don't start doubling or tripling the weight?
Well, at that point, I don't know if you're giving a dowry for that woman.
Okay.
That's a
she's not as sought after by the community, therefore no dowry.
That's up to her dad to decide. Yeah. Remember?
The $20 one here from Rhaegar Targaryen says, "I'm doing my part." He's seen
Thank
Starship
you,
Troopers.
Rhaegar.
Thank you. That puts us. I can check now. There we go.
Are we allowed to know?
Yeah.
We made it.
Do we make it? What's happening?
The anticipation's killing
Let's
me.
go!
Okay.
Thank you, Rhaegar.
Thank you, Rhaegar.
So Carter made this one. It's so much easier to dance to.
Oh, it's a dance remix.
It's a dance remix. My idea of a crisis party was literally just loud explosions and
I like
trauma
that.
for your ears.
Yes.
Which my favorite was I always imagine when I play these loud sounds, it's like a car crash and somebody's screaming for help, and Tim's just downstairs
Well, actually, I'm downstairs because my office is downstairs, and we'll be walking the hallway, and I'll be like, and
somebody scream!
Yeah, but I actually, whenever you guys talk about your crisis party sounds, I was thinking about at the Waco standoff when the
what I think
the feds
too.
played the dolphin noises and stuff at crazy hours to try and get them to
Did they do that
bunker?
to Noriega as well? I feel like they did that.
It's a tactic for sure, but famously at Waco, like dolphin noises, high pitch on speech while they flash lights in your windows. Like, it's a vibe. You know what I'm saying?
It's absolutely a vibe. All right.
Not that I'm being held hostage or being prevented from leaving a cult compound.
High Voltage 75 says, this is so funny. This is such an inside baseball problem. So whenever I do the super chats at the end, I make the screen larger so that I can read them the whole way across. Otherwise, you have to do the damn mouse and pull it across. And I'm reading like, and then he said this, and then I scroll.
I don't know how you do that.
But when you make the box louder, now literally the microphone stand is in the way of the word. So I'm like trying to, right?
Just show host problems.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not easy.
$7 million for
being me, guys. High Voltage 75 says, welcome back, HCB. If you had to choose one of your first names as your new permanent first name, Hannah or Claire, what would you prefer?
I couldn't, because for me they're like one word, you know. It would be like someone whose name is Anne Marie or something, or Joanne. Like that's all one word, so it'd be weird to make them pick between the two. But they are two separate words with a space. That's a fair point. Blame my parents.
All right. 180 Clop Flop says, thanks for a fun way to unwind after work. I love what you just gave me, my friend, is the greatest compliment you can give this show. I was actually explaining to somebody the other day. All I want is to make stuff for people to put on in the background. I want to make cleaning content. Like literally, like
we just want to keep you company.
The biggest compliment you could give me is like, dude, I don't even know what you said. Right, I just put it on in the background. Like, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you had a good day at work. Shane H. Wilder says, you're welcome, Brett. CHCP, if you follow, you too can see stupid things like this. Of course, Mary sent you the Breaking Bad Walt Rizlord. Yes, Walter White is, of course, a Rizlord. He's a Sigma male, for sure. Corey Anderson says, what the F is a gyat? Well, it's an abbreviation partly for gyat dam, but also a large female buttocks.
See? How do you pronounce it?
Gyat.
Okay.
Gyat.
You're going to practice for yourself?
Corey Anderson says, HCB, how old are you?
412.
Ah, there you go. Pat the Plumber says, I could type so fast on my Motorola StarTech. I was much faster at typing on like my old phone before.
I don't really like the touchscreen keyboard.
No.
Like
I don't like the touchscreen keyboard. I was better when it was a full slide out one, but I didn't have a phone when it was like you had to do the numbers.
So much better.
That would probably be harder.
Corey Anderson says, who buys shoes without putting them on first? Do you guys do you guys sit like in between sizes on shoes where like in some companies you're this size and in other companies? Okay. I'm like I'm a 7 in like literally all shoe sizes, so it wouldn't really matter. But for a lot of people,
amazingly consistent.
Like, well, or also,
nice.
but a lot of it's from skates. Like my feet were like I used to wear like a 6.5 on purpose because you like back in the day they made like half size shells so you could go down and make it as small as possible, which meant lighter, which meant more control. So I like basically permanently damaged my feet by wearing like a 6.5, which probably made my already small feet.
It's like foot binding.
Yeah,
with
basically.
You
rollerblades.
foot bound yourself for the sport?
Basically.
It's dedication.
So are you guys like always the same size?
No. Well, I'm like a 7.5, but that really means I'm like 7, 7.5, or an 8.
I think women's shoes are like women's clothes. I think there is actually companies that make different sizes.
Yes,
you know,
for sure.
The only ones that I feel like are consistent are when they're also marketed like Vans. I'm very consistent in my sizing, right? Because
It's
I think
more
they're
like
also
unisex.
unisex.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a rare example when they don't. Okay, so a 7 doesn't fit me in a pair of Vans. It would have to be like a 9.
Interesting.
A 9 or a 10. Because they just run really, really. They feel like they run really, really small on the sides.
But probably because they're unisex, right?
Yes.
So like for women, they're sort of slightly big, but for men, they're slightly small.
Yep.
This is not a super chat, but I just thought I'd draw attention to this one. Cord Wayner says PCC is better than huffing paint again. Well, thank you.
What a fun review.
That is the.
Sorry, why is this not in the bio of all your social media?
If this was a movie trailer, that would be the when they put like action packed. This movie is great. Like it would be like PCC is better than huffing paint.
You need a shirt that's like it looks like a Yelp review, but it's all things that people have said in the super chats. And one is the huffing paint one.
Jessica, if you're watching, make us a mug or a shirt that says PCC is better than huffing paint.
But it has to look like a Yelp review.
Yes.
Right. Because there may be some legality to
also
that assertion.
Do whatever you need to do. I know you're really busy, Jessica. No problem. No rush.
I have no problem with monopolizing your time. Okay, let's see. Corey Anderson says 52 weeks. Can he do that training online? Yeah. Well, that's once a week. He's got to go to therapy
for a year.
It should have to be in person, because if it's like he could turn on in the background, if it's the equivalent of this show to someone cleaning their house, that's not enough.
I agree. All right. Again, the scrolling here is always a problem. This is always the part of the show where I start to get really, really antsy and I start to like rush it. I can't do that for.
Well, I felt bad because when Brett and I were setting up for the show today, one of the things that I asked was like, how are we doing super chats? Because I also have a problem, for various behind the scenes reasons, reading all the way across the lines without messing up the other setup.
Corey Anderson,
just make Brett do it today.
Corey Anderson says, Christ almighty, I spilled mayo on my jammy jams. Well, all right then.
Oh.
Pat the Plumber says, how can there be an eclipse when there's a genocide going on in Gaza? That's very true. How can anything be happening when there's a genocide?
Of course the
going on
sun
in
would
Gaza?
make it about itself, right?
So inconsiderate.
Stuck up.
Self-centered.
Are there sun signs? You're a signs girl, right?
Yeah. What's up?
Are there sun signs or are they elements? I can't remember.
And then both.
Where the moon and sun are tell you things about.
Yeah, so Brett and I's sun signs are Cancer, and the element for that animal is water because it's a crab.
I refuse to believe that matters.
No, Brett's really into it. I can tell.
I'm not. I have told her before. I shamed her out of astrology like when we first met at work.
What's your sign? What's his sign?
He's a Cancer.
He's Cancer?
I'm a Cancer.
Yeah.
Oh.
The sensitive
I love
type.
when you say that, like that has some deep special
Like
meaning.
she sees through you now.
Yeah.
I don't know
Sees in
anything
you.
about it, but I believe the thing is Sarah is. Can I call you your name on this show?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they know you? Sarah's very wise on these things, and I trust her judgment when it comes to astrology. Also, that means everyone should start just every day bombarding you with astrology, like the daily horoscopes for the Cancer symbol every day. Just send them to Brett. He needs to know.
Why is everybody that? So I'm gonna get nothing but that and fireworks videos for like the next 6 months. This is awful. All right, Corey
And
Anderson,
eclipse photos.
And eclipse photos. Corey Anderson
Guys,
says,
you're gonna make him so happy.
At least HCB is a woman of her word.
I feel like that's sort of sarcastic, but I didn't say I'm giving up. It's just taking me a very long time. And to be fair, no one said I had to do it in a certain amount of time. In fact, I think
technically there was supposed to be like you were supposed to get them all
I had them all done before the other one came out. Otherwise, I had to watch that too, which I did. And if they release another one, I'll add that to the list.
You go on forever. Carnell says, Brett, we all know you are completely willing and happy to separate art from artists, but are you ever going to be able to separate A24 from the trailer? I hate A24 films. They're just obnoxious and
that's so hipster of you.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
No, loving A24 films.
No, I feel like it's more hipster to hate it. Be like, ugh, they're just so try hard.
It's just, oh God.
A24.
Oh, my. So I feel the same way. I was like, look, stop trying to make art. Just start making funny explosions and make the movies to turn my brain off. You can make the art house stuff for other people. One time at Bandcamp says, Brett, do you like the original Twin Peaks? I've only seen sporadic episodes of Twin Peaks.
I love the original Twin Peaks. I think it's really cool.
I'll have to go back, and it's one of those ones, right? It's actually perfect for watching now because it's short. You don't have to watch a whole ton of it. It's kind of like Firefly. Firefly is very easy to go and watch because it's only one season. So if somebody says this show is great, it should have had tons of seasons, and somebody says go watch this, like, oh, it's only 13 episodes. Like maybe I like it, maybe I don't, but it's way less of a time investment than somebody saying go watch this 9-season show. It really gets good around season 4.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I've never heard of it. I feel so lame.
It's a David Lynch thing. It's weird. It's cool.
Okay.
Pat the Plumber says the videos of Samantha Irving are fantastic. Yeah, so the other thing about this lady, she's fantastic. And she has this thing where apparently she doesn't want to know, because wrestling is scripted, she doesn't want to know the winners ahead of time so that she can be surprised by the endings.
Right.
And it adds to her performance and stuff like that.
That's great.
Drewish AF says, so will Biden try taking credit for the eclipse? Well, him and Al Gore taking credit for the internet.
I think he's going to try to sit on the fence on this one. Like, if you're pro the eclipse, he wants you to think it's for him. But if you're against the eclipse, he's with you.
Totally.
Know?
Depends on the outcome.
Yeah.
HCB, Dean, Jess, or Logan?
Oh, I've always been a Logan person. I like Jess a lot, and I think that if this is a Gilmore Girls thing, if
I was
no
gonna
one
say,
is
what the
aware.
hell
I've realized that after a minute.
If the thing is, like, Jess is a cool character, and I think he ultimately ends up being like cooler than Rory. But when he's a teenager, like, you can't advocate for them to be together in the way he is. So there's sort of like a misconnection. And I ultimately think Logan's a better choice, except you have to not watch the 7th season because it's all garbage. Okay.
Ellen G in the chat is Ellen is very upset that I said scripted. It's predetermined. It's not scripted. It is. Look,
it's fate.
I love it, and I've had
wrestling.
I've had to defend my love of wrestling to many people over the days. I'll never understand the dislike for it. Like, if you like movies, I don't understand why you would have a problem with people.
Those aren't scripted though, right?
No, exactly, right? No,
it's like people who watch Desperate Housewives. Women just like women in their mid-40s, probably divorced. Yeah, just super drunk, yelling at each other. Totally scripted, but people love it.
Shadow Zero says
Desperate Housewives for Men. I love that.
Yes.
Shadow Zero says Neon from Clownfish did a video about Bridge yesterday. Looks like it might be worse than DEI. Well, then we're gonna have another however many years of having to then call attention to that word. And
Yeah,
then
they're all bad.
It always gets worse before it gets better, guys.
It's not gonna get better, guys.
Or it won't catch on, right? Like, it's just getting too complicated. People will be like, we're just out. And I do think that we see that on a certain level.
Oh my goodness says Hannah is honestly one of my favorite guests. She keeps the discussion going when things get stale, and I appreciate the high feminine energy. Shout out Hannah. Do we have
High
a Hannah
feminine.
here?
Hannah is doing a great
Energy.
job, whoever that wench is.
Is this her? Is that Hannah? That could be Hannah. I don't know. We don't have a Hannah here, but we do have a Hannah Claire.
I appreciate the sentiment of that compliment, and if it's directed at me, Hannah Claire, I appreciate it a lot.
DCNC says bathroom breaks. HCB is preggers. It's PCC lore now.
I'm not pregger. Don't start that, or you might give me internet infertility. You know, no, I just stepped out because I was waiting for a phone call, but and I couldn't reschedule it out of pop culture crisis. Again, this is one of those things.
She's working double shift.
No, it's just so hard. It's like, this is one of the things that, like, I think you guys, I mean, probably you give Brett and Mary credit for this all the time, but like, it is difficult to balance working, especially when you have to be somewhere at a structured time. There's no exception. So if you like need maintenance on your house, or you have like, there's only one time you go to an appointment, or like whatever else, like it's tough. I mean, everyone who works a regular job knows this too, but it's particularly hard when your job is live streamed.
We should have just taken the phone call on the air. All right, Shane H. Weller says, because you questioned me, I DM'd you on Twix with proof of Dr. Dick Chop. I'll have to look that up.
I assume
later.
it's Brett.
Don't check
if
your
you
DMs,
sent me
Hannah
anything
Claire.
about Dick Chop, I'm sorry, sir.
Mr. Anderson says Maguire had to get into sick shape to play Spidey. She had to grab a bottle of red hair dye and a push-up bra. Their challenges were not the same. Ooh. He did have to get in good shape to do that.
Also, she's not the lead. Like, could we also pay them? Like, should we do their salaries by the number of words they say? Except if you're a really famous actor, your price per word is like $1 million.
Samuel L. Jackson is paid like somebody broke down the amount of F words, like the price of all the F words he said in movies. There's a lot of actors who say like Keanu Reeves is another example of someone who makes a lot of money with very few words in the John Wick franchise. So
maybe she should start an agency where she helps young upcoming female actresses negotiate better. Like, I just think the complaining years after is annoying.
Well, there was some actress we talked about recently who complained about not getting to work with female directors, and then somebody like pointed out like she did 8 movies since then and hasn't worked with a single female director. And they're, you know,
you could turn down projects but don't have a female director. I'm just saying.
Rhaegar Targaryen says, dude, Kirsten Dunst. Did I get through the whole thing without calling her Kristen? I hope I did. It's like I say William Dafoe sometimes, and I'll say Kristen Dunst, but it's Kirsten.
Kirsten or Kirsten?
Kirsten. Is married to Jesse Plemons. What?
Which one's Jesse Plemons?
I forget.
No way. I have no idea.
I gotta
I'll look it up.
Corey Anderson says, if there was to be a pay scale for Spider-Man, who is it?
Oh, it's the guy from Breaking Bad.
Oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, to Aaron Paul.
They're married?
No. He was in The Irishman. He was here. I'll show you a photo, and you'll recognize him immediately.
He was in a Black Mirror episode or
Okay.
something that I watched, and he was really good and real creepy.
I was like, if she's married to Aaron Paul, my whole life is a lie. They're like the complete opposite of each other. Corey Anderson says, if there is to be a pay scale for Spider-Man, McMahon should have been paid the most. Oh, Macho Man should have. I was like, McMahon? Macho Man, yes, because Bonesaw McGraw is in that movie. He's actually Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh.
I got you for 3 minutes.
We should just have
3
a
minutes of
universal
playtime.
set income, and then we don't have to worry about any of this ever
exactly.
again.
That's such a good role from Macho Man Randy Savage too. Like the elbow off the top. It's so good.
Again, no idea. Now I know.
Brewmaster Monk send us. I don't know what that symbol is. It looks like a. I don't know what it is, but thank you.
Some sort of excited alligator.
I have no idea, but thank you.
But I love it. Good sentiment.
I have no idea what the DCNC says. Sarah, a treasure chest.
Yes, that was an excellent. Like when you want to marry someone, you have to bring their dowry in an actual treasure chest,
no matter how small or high it is.
Oh, and if it like involves livestock, gotta figure it out, man.
Get a really big treasure chest.
Yes.
High Voltage 75 says, Hannah Claire on Gamer Maids when? I know you're not a gamer. They play a lot of casual stuff too. Sarah can vouch.
Yeah, I can't. I don't.
She's like, I
can't
got a
do
job,
anything.
guys.
Does IRL.
Guys,
she does PC.
You're so welcoming, and I really can't play video games.
Scanner.
This was the funny thing about growing. You guys both have siblings, and when I was growing up, I think I've told this story before, but I remember how my cousins got a GameCube, and it was life. The GameCube was a really big deal, and I remember playing Mario Kart and stuff. And there's in the GameCube there were only like 4 places to plug in the controllers, and I was the youngest when I was with my cousins of like 6. So I was last in line to get a controller. I could watch video games like there's no tomorrow, but I was taught you're not supposed to talk. You're supposed to sit here quietly. So I don't know that I would just fall back into this weird position of not being helpful at all.
All right.
And it's right before IRL, so it's difficult for me to I can't really finish work and go on IRL and do that. So
Dylan
do everything.
Visitation says, where do we buy PCC brand popping corn? It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Never thought of it.
you yell Jessica's name right now.
Top market.
One thing I really need to do is get better at merch ideas. I need to get better at merch ideas. I need to work on that. Shane H. Wilder says, here's a horoscope. Here's your horoscope,
You guys
Brett.
could have Pop Culture Crisis Pop-Tarts.
Oh, that'll be so cute with the pop culture logo, the little TV.
We could do that. I think Pop Tarts is a branded company though, so I think we'll have some. We'll hit some
Not Pop Culture Tarts.
pop
PCTs.
culture tarts. Shane H. Wilder says, Brett, your horoscope. Uranus is in Gatorade. It's
You
usually
feel
Mercury
enlightened?
is in Gatorade, but I get you. Thank you. Rhaegar Targaryen. I'm a Libra. All the stereotypes about me are true. Now let's do some alchemy.
Are you teaching an alchemy course later?
What the hell?
Yeah, if you guys want me to.
What the hell?
Tweet your horoscopes at me.
Pray tell, what the hell are the stereotypes of a Libra? Do you know?
Libra, they are materialistic. They are a little bit aloof. Typically considered attractive because it's Libra is ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and beauty.
Okay. Yeah.
This just became an astrology podcast.
Also, you should start doing coffee astrology posts. I feel like that would be really funny.
I should.
You should just turn
moon
you
is
should
in
just turn the
Aquarius
Casper
today.
account into an astrology page. Honestly, morning. You know how you could hijack it?
How?
Morning coffee thoughts, and then just nothing but astrology.
Just do
every day.
horoscope.
Afternoon coffee thoughts, nothing but astrology. Be great. All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Please and thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun with you and Hannah Claire. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CastBrewCoffee. It may turn into an astrology page for all you know.
Ask Sarah for your horoscope.
What is your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
What are the stereotypes about Geminis?
Geminis, they are intelligent.
I always get told
smart.
that we're two-faced, which I don't think that's fair.
People say that they're two-faced because they're the twins. Their superpower is words.
No way.
Yeah, weird.
See, that makes me believe in astrology because I've only ever been interested, math, not for me.
Yeah.
But
what about Cancers?
I don't like being called
Cancers.
two-faced.
Emotionally intelligent, leader because we're a cardinal sign.
Okay.
You know what?
That's wrong.
A cardinal sign. Whoa.
Yeah.
Are we the
cardinal
Catholic
leaders.
Church now?
Oh dear, no. It just means you're the leader of the water signs.
Okay, I'm not
the
a leader.
water
though, so
tribe?
I'm not a leader. Therefore, all that you just said is bunk.
You let us
and
do this
false.
podcast.
You're actually the manager of Pop Culture Crisis. I don't know what you're talking. Oh, interesting.
This was foisted upon me. I didn't ask for this.
Greatness
but
was
you
thrust
didn't
upon
shirk it.
you. Yeah.
All right.
Happens when you're a cardinal sign.
HCB, let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on the internet. Sorry, I was not. I didn't realize the show was ending.
By the
I
way,
know,
right-
dude.
right-
Every time, so fast.
Right when
all
I
of a
did,
sudden.
right when I did that, I was like, "Did I ask her already?" Because there's this thing where like I get mixed up when we're doing super chats, and then I'll ask Mary twice if she's given her socials. So then I like as soon as I'm
wanna
saying,
make
like,
sure people can
please
find
say
her.
she didn't actually already give them. There's one more super chat here from High Voltage 75 says PCC episode 600 HCB in a dunk tank. They've been pushing that for ages. Where are we going to get a dunk tank?
That was something we talked about a long time ago.
Dunk tanks are
Yeah.
us? Where the hell do you buy a dunk tank?
You can rent them from like same places you rent like inflatable bounce castles and stuff like that.
I'm sure Tim could find a dunk tank.
Do we need a like waterproof setup then?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it would have to be.
Do you get dunked if you answer pop culture questions wrong?
I like the idea of throwing the, like
Yeah,
it's
that'd be
at
fun.
the carnival where you throw the baseball to hit the thing that dunks you. But the thing is, maybe what you'd have to do is like maybe you can't live stream it, but you can like go to PCC's social media now to live stream the.
It would be funny if like everybody was in a dunk tank and there were GoPros strapped to it, and then instead of like a crisis party, it was like they're super chatting to specifically dunk a person. Does that make sense?
There you go. That's a good idea.
I've made it that I have no technical ability to help with this, and I'm not here regularly. So have a great time, but definitely continue to bug Brett about that.
Socials.
Okay, so I'm on Twitter at HC Brumelo, and I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You should definitely 110% follow at Timcast News. You can still get all the work from our writers and our news team. They work really, really hard, and I know we all appreciate your support. So check us out there at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm on IRL tonight, so if you guys are tuning in there, I'll see you then. Brett, thank you so much for having me as a co-host today.
No, thank you, and I thank you for the help this week because it's going to be it's always more. It's more work when Mary's not here to like actually do the heavy lifting of reading everything.
You mean when you have to do two people's job instead of one?
When Mary
it's harder?
See, the thing is, what it is Mary is the one who makes the show coherent. I don't do coherency all that well, so
I think you're being self-deprecating. Yeah.
So you're being an insecure Cancer, Brett.
Way to bring it all back.
Oh, I'm mad now. Okay. The rumbling, we got a couple more here. It says, what is the stuff for an Aries? What are the stereotypes for an Aries?
Aries, so they are the cardinal fire sign. They are initiators. They can be hot-headed. Take that as you will. Leaders, just in general, because they're fire signs. A lot of energy.
Okay.
I think this could be a whole segment where you just like answer.
I was very bored during COVID. It was one of my COVID hobbies.
Pat the Plumber says Washington didn't want to be president, Brett. Yes, I'm basically the same as George Washington.
Yes, identical.
Wasn't he technically not ever actually president?
No, he was president.
What
was he? The first one.
Well, never mind.
No, like he was officially like sworn in. It was a whole thing, from what I know.
He's on a dollar bill. He's on money.
He was an Aries, a Sagittarius. I don't know what he was. We should do that. Were you talking about presidents, but only in the context of their astrology?
That
sign?
would be a fun podcast.
Wait, we should just go live on Instagram
be
and
a
do this one
segment
time.
on
Would
Pop
you guys
Culture
listen
Crisis.
to Sarah and I if we talked about this? Because I think it's hilarious.
I think they would. I think they
Okay,
absolutely
we're in.
would.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you would prefer to listen rather than watch. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook and not TikTok because we were banned at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye.
Bye.